The following live stream has been approved for appropriate audiences. It may contain occasional strong language and may not be suitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer inebriation is advised, though not mandatory.
Good evening, happy Friday, and welcome back to Last Call, where tonight we pick up where we left off last week. Boomer and I were talking about our Marvel memories from the time before there was a Marvel Cinematic Universe. Last week we took you from the late 1960s up through 1991, and that's where we pick up tonight. Now, Boomer is the keeper of the slideshow, and while I provided him with my own list of Marvel memories, that was over 2 weeks ago, and I've had many drinks and many sleeps since then, so even my own contribution to tonight's list will come as a surprise to me, but that's part of the fun, so I hope you enjoy the ride. Grab a seat, top off your glasses, and tell me what you're sipping on in the chat, and we'll get this Canarble Wagon rolling before you can sing, "When Captain America throws his mighty shield."
Last Call is streamed before a live audience.
Salud and welcome. Thanks so much for being here. Yes, and I am, 8 minutes late. Normally, I am not one of the late ones, but this time I am. I apologize for that. I'll do better next time. Anyway, I am sipping on, you know what I felt like today? And I had gotten this a couple weeks ago because I'd been kind of having a hankering for it. I'd been wanting to try, I'd never had before, I wanted to try some schnapps. This specifically is peach schnapps. And I got to tell you.
You've never had schnapps?
I've never had schnapps, no. Well, I may have had a peppermint schnapps at one time, but that's...
Yeah, it's like when I was a teen, peppermint schnapps was the thing. It's like if you were drinking peppermint schnapps, you thought you were...
I didn't drink it straight, though. I only ever had peppermint schnapps in like a chocolate martini or something like that, you know, a foo-foo drink. I'm going to drink it. I'm going to drink it straight. And I'm just going to see what it smells. Oh, it smells like a peach. Well, it smells like a peach, right? It smells like peach candy or I don't know, like a peach gummy or something. I'm going to give this a try. Ooh, I see why schnapps is so dangerous.
Okay, let me
try that so one. Yummy. I could probably drink that whole thing way faster than I should.
Yeah, schnapps is kind of on the sweeter side.
What do you think?
It's like a liquid peach.
It is.
That would be better cold.
Probably. But what do you think?
Yeah, it's good.
I mean, it's...
As soon as you sip it, you get a mouthful of peach flavor.
It's different than if you take peaches and, like, soak them in vodka, which would be... I don't know what that would be, an infusion, right? That would be a peach infusion. Whereas this is more of a, I don't know, maybe somebody who knows more technically than I do. Is schnapps like a cordial? I mean, that's how sweet it seems to me. But anyway, this could end up really effing me up by the end of the night. We'll see. But anyway.
You mean unlike, a gin, not gin and tonic. I don't think you've ever had one of those.
Brown mumbler?
Brown mumbler. Yeah, you can only have one of those.
Yeah.
Or was it the rum and coke? Or any of the other things that you drink.
Yeah, you guys have seen me get pretty messed up on some streams, let me tell you. So anyway, you hear her talking there, and she's here with me. My lovely partner in crime, Netter of Netters Network. How you doing, my dear, and what are you sipping on?
I am actually doing really well today. Okay, all week.
By the way, that's not an admission of guilt when I say she's my partner in crime. I'm not lying, but it's also not an admission of guilt. Go ahead.
All week, it seems like if something could go wrong, it did.
Mm-hmm.
It was like Monday through Thursday was like a typical Monday, but it lasted 4 days. So it's like I discovered that if I try to do anything on a Monday, it's probably not going to go right. So like, I plan out the day I'm going to do XYZ. Yeah, it doesn't happen. I might get X partially done, but then I got all these side quests and I don't get it all done. So Mondays are never good days for that. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Today, because I'm going to be off of work all next week, and I was talking to my boss yesterday, my one-on-one, it's like, I want to, make sure I've got everything off my plate, all my tasks and stuff done so that I can enjoy next week without going, oh, this wasn't done. This wasn't done. Now somebody else has to take care of it and da-da-da. Everything that I need to get done got done. It's like boom, 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 right in rapid succession. Everything happened. I had a few side quests, but the side quests took me maybe 5 minutes. So today has been an extraordinarily good day because at the end of the day, when I was going to do my handoff and let the people who will be taking over for me while I'm out know what was going on, I said, I've got one Salesforce case. This person's taking care of it. I've got one Jira case. It came in, late afternoon. I haven't touched it. That's all I have. It's like, because I've taken a day off before where I've had a laundry list. I got this. I didn't have any of that. I had one thing that came in late in the afternoon. I'm like, I don't have time for that. So, it was a really nice handoff and everything. So I'm like, yes. Yeah. And I am drinking currently a Diet Dr. Pepper. And when I finish this or get tired of it, because soda gets too sweet for me. I don't really drink soda because it always tastes sweet. But to me, Diet Dr. Pepper can be what Troy calls high octane for me. I don't usually drink soda. I usually drink my water. But once I finish this or get tired of it, I'm going to switch to Kahlua and cream. There you go. Having a really great day.
That seems fair. Absolutely. Yeah, well, good. And you are off next week, right?
I am off all next week. The only monkey wrench, and like I said, Mondays, because I am planning on doing some runner work in our basement. It's basically cleaning up the basement, and I'm painting in there on the unfinished side. At 5 o'clock, we have a dental appointment to have our cleanings done, which means I have to stop around 3:30ish or so to get cleaned up so we can go and get our cleanings done. That's my only monkey wrench on Monday. It's like, of course, because it's Monday. Something's got to just, disrupt the works. So, yeah. But other than that, it's like, yeah, I'm planning out doing that part the same as I did the other half of that same section, where it's like I work until like 7:30 p.m., then I can take a shower and everything, get ready for whatever stream is that night. But yeah,
there you go.
Monday's my only monkey wrench.
So, Agent Boomer, how you doing, my friend? What are you sipping on?
I've got a Coca-Cola Classic, and I'm doing okay.
Well, I don't know. Coca-Cola Classic, high octane. That seems like I don't know. You're starting to do that more and more often. I'm getting worried about you, my friend.
I got you.
You might have.
Man. You should have some tea with that schnapps. You could have like a nice peach iced tea.
I don't want to dilute it. Oh, it's so yummy. I'm really, really enjoying this.
Yeah, so you want to be careful with that, honey.
It's real
like
quick,
those Jello shots. It goes right to your head.
I did want to share that. Look, I want to do my civic duty, and I want to report this to the correct government agency. I don't know who that is, but maybe if someone could tell me. I heard that somebody has a pet squirrel and raccoon, and apparently it's this guy. So whatever government agency needs to, please get on that. Just saying.
It may have an appearance of a little dog too, so don't mistake.
Yeah, and so I'm figuring, given the incoming administration, maybe they can point the right people in the right direction. So anyway, let me say hello to the chat, you wonderful people who have waited all this time. You probably all left by now. They came in, said their chats, and left, right? Because they got tired of waiting on us. But first, I want to say hi to FKHC 2005, whom we affectionately know as Tim. Yes, you won. It was a fine margin there because I got the stream up late, and you happen to have been the first one here. So good on you. And of course, JPRPH1 says, hail to Aged Boomer. That might be over on your side. Because I know that JPRPH1 is a channel member, and he is dropping the Canarble Wagon, the fedora, the channel logo, and the brown mumbler over here on mine. The other Tim Hayes. Hail, Troy, he says. Hail, Tim. So glad you are here, and you are here encouraging the rest of the chat. And Connie Cleary, the bird woman of YouTube. Hail, Connie. It's always good to see you. And of course, there you are. I love you too, Netter. Let's see. Oh, and Tim's saying hi over on your chat too, Netter. And let's see, there's Big Al of Big Al Presents. Hello, my friends. Films with Friends raid. That's right. You had a stream tonight that just let out. Thanks for coming on by, my friend. Let's see. Oh, and then there's Aged Boomer, who was also getting sick and tired of waiting for me because I'm such a lazy slob, slowpoke bastard. Curtis Selby, hail. Good to see you, my friend. And of course, salute to Deleted Scenes. Yes, Films with Friends raid, of course. And let's see. There he is. Daniel Barry, Sports Highlights. Good to see you, my friend. He says evening, everyone. The other Troy, Space Fraggle, drops the Canarble, the logo, the fedora, and the brown mumbler 3 times. Well, take it easy, man. Those things are really, really potent. By the way, going back to, let's see, was it last Monday? Yes, last Monday, we celebrated Life Day with the Star Wars Holiday Special, and I said that my regular members and VIP members drop me a note by either by email or direct message or however you want to give me a mailing address if you are interested, and I will send you a DVD copy, actually a 3 DVD collection of the various holiday special DVDs.
It's almost like a trilogy.
So far, Space.
It's almost like
well,
a trilogy.
no. It's just multiple versions, right? The original upscaled Julio version, the version that we watched on Monday, which is the Thank the Maker edit, and a couple of other edits that are they're good, but they're not as good as the Thank the Maker edit, and a few other little holiday Star Wars related throw-ins as well. But so far, Space Fraggle's the only one who has gotten me a message. So if you are a regular member or a VIP member, and you are interested in a copy of the Star Wars Holiday Special, make sure you reach out and let me know. And there is Madanui saying, hi, Madanui. Always good to see you, my friend. And Brandon Tran, hello. How is your guys' evening? Our guys' evening is wonderful. Thank you so much for asking, my friend. John Pantaliero, I guess you're making the rounds on the various IDs, and that's fine too. I super appreciate you. I'm sure it helps the algorithms in some way, shape, or form. Mark Daly, since the storms hit, I've been telling everyone every day is a Monday at this volume. I hear you, my friend. I think this guy down here can appreciate how storms can be trying.
Do you know why they're called the algorithms?
Yeah, because he invented the internet, right?
Correct.
Or at least that's what he says. I dispute that. I think he misunderstands what the internet is, but be that as it may. Brandon Tran says, I've got a Marvel battle question. I will be watching for that here in the chat. I'm probably coming up to it very shortly. Sir Torrin Clegane, good evening, my friend. Good to see you. If you go watch that, Sir Torrin, I'm speaking. If you go see that Wicked movie, if I'm not suggesting you should, I'm just saying if you by chance happen to, because of your own free will, that's what you've decided to do, I would be very interested in your opinion. Because I certainly am not going to be the first person to go see that. And of course, I would want somebody who's got some familiarity with the musical to do that. Who would win between Wesley Snipes' Blade from the first Blade versus Tobey Maguire from Spider-Man 3?
I guess he means the black suit, Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man.
I'm assuming this is an opinion thing, right? Because we don't
Yes.
have
Yes.
anything in canon that would tell us that. Here is my headcanon for that. If I was writing this movie, at first the Venom Spider-Man from Spider-Man 3 would win. And then Snipes would have, Blade. Would have to sneak away and do a little bit of recon and find out about, where this new suit came from, and learn that it's a symbiote and how to destroy it. And then he just comes back, decked out to the nines with sonic weapons and stuff, and just kick the tar out of him. And after he gets the suit off of Peter, who's like standing there in his skivvies, and Blade is still beating on him. He's like, no, I'm free. I'm not possessed anymore.
Blade would still keep beating him up.
Yeah, Blade says, yeah, I'm not taking any chances. I'll stop when you're unconscious. That's how I would write that movie. Jesse Guajardo. Hello there, everyone. Hello, Jesse Guajardo. Good to see you. And Nate. Geek Flag with Nate Knows 1973. Hey, Troy, Netters, and Boomer. I'm sipping on a Sprite Chill, and it has cherry and lime flavor. That sounds good. And
sounds refreshing.
And another channel member, Darth Plato. Welcome. Good to see you. Making the rounds, because that's over on Netters channel, and then stopping by over here. Thank you so much.
And I think I dropped sweeties to everybody in all of our chats. If I missed you, please let me know, because I gotta drop my hi sweetie to you.
Give me just a moment. I'm almost at the end of the chat. I see a lot of you guys saying hi to each other. That's always good. Newly appointed AG Pam Bondi. Yep, I heard about that. Is going to be more concerned with the vermin in the government than pet squirrels. I hope so. Honestly, yeah, my joke kind of falls short once the new administration comes in, because from what I hear, there's going to be a lot of changes in a lot of departments. So the people that need to be gone probably will be gone more or less peacefully. They don't need the John Wick method of getting rid of them. But either way is fine with me. And another take on this Raimi Spider-Man trilogy has a lot of good memes making fun of campiness, Bully Maguire, any Green Goblin lines, and Mr. Aziz at the pizza owner. Yeah.
Yes. I've seen the Human Spider YouTube channel. It's interesting.
Al Gore was talking about the tennis net. Well, I don't think Al Gore is that old. Tennis predates him by a couple hundred years, I believe. But then again, I don't know. Maybe he's older than I think he is. Sir Torrance says, I plan on seeing it on Tuesday. Okay. Taking one for the team, I see. Okay. Let me know what you think. I'll be interested to find out. And Darth Plato votes for Blade. Yeah, see, I'm with you. The black suit Tobey Maguire or BS Tobey Maguire for sure. Yeah, there you go. For some reason, I thought we talking about all Marvel movies that happened before MCU. Well, I mean, those all definitely fall within the context of what we're talking. Boomer and I put together a list of our personal. I almost said personal favorites. That's
not favorites. True. They were
the
impactful.
In terms of our opinions of Marvel overall.
And before y'all get excited, Blade is not on the list because we covered Blade on good old days. I'm not doing it again. So Blade does not make this list.
Who would win, Blade or Black Suit Troy? I'm not sure that fight would even happen because Blade would show up, but I'd be like, hey, dude, I'm not here to fight you. I've got other things to do.
The symbiote would say, I want to eat his head.
Yeah,
right?
No. Yeah, see, I think I have a stronger will than that. Okay, well, either that or I'd get enough of these in me that the symbiote would be too effed up to.
Yeah, maybe that would work. If you get drunk, the symbiote gets weak too. Did he ever try doing that?
Exactly. Spider-Man. But then again, that ends up being that could be a whole problem in and of itself. Could you see me and the symbiote going out to bars and getting all effed up?
Has there ever been a drunk Spider-Man in a comic?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's interesting.
It's happened.
Does he like swing into like a oncoming car or something? Because he's
that I don't remember. No. I mean, I just remember. I remember him going through a hard time, having some, the full beard thing going on, getting drunk, walking through an alley.
Mary
I don't
Jane
remember
broke up with him or something.
You guys got to remember, for all the talking that we did last week, I was reading Spider-Man comics going all the way back to the 70s. Actually, I was getting some back issues going back into the 60s.
Wow.
And as we got into the 80s, I was reading 3 titles of Spider-Man at any given time. Amazing Spider-Man, Spectacular, Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. And then the Web of Spider-Man I got from issue 1. So I was getting a lot of Spider-Man during those eras. And some of the stories that weren't like the big arcs kind of
gotcha.
Get hazy in my mind.
Right.
Judging from all the screeching on Twitter and TikTok recently, I don't think Venom would do very well. I see what you did there. That's funny. And Real Wade Nation Gaming Clips, welcome. Ultimate Avengers 2 is best. Do you mean like literally issue 2? I don't remember them that clearly by issue. I just remember, the comics when Ultimates was introduced. Unless you mean that there was a later line of Ultimates that came out in a more recent era that I may not be aware of. Let's see here. Spider-Man would beat Blade either way. Spider-Man has quicker reflexes. He is 10 times stronger than Blade, and his spidey sense will always give him the maximum edge. But keep in mind, we're talking about him in the black outfit with Venom. And he was kind of fighting with Venom within his own mind at the same time. So it would almost be Peter Parker and Blade against the Venom symbiote. At least that's how I'm thinking about it. Like Kathleen Kennedy, Al Gore is a lich. There you go. And
lich with an L, not with the
that she might be other things that rhyme with lich, but lich is an undead evil creature. And thank you so much, Troy, Space Fraggle. Why have a nice audience tonight? Or that might be we have a nice audience tonight. Nice to see us fill the venue. Yes, I super appreciate you guys. After, I think Last Call really is living up to everything I ever wanted it to be, and that was help me decompress from the week with some friends to commiserate with. Troy's a vampire. I wish. Sleep all day, party all night, never grow old, never die. That wouldn't be so bad. Let's see here. Like Time's Person of the Year, they affected us most for good or ill. Yeah, good point. Troy must have Ultimate Avengers 2 cartoon movie. Okay. Yeah, I did. I know that they did, that some of these comics that we're going to be talking about, or that we have talked about, have been turned into DVDs, cartoons, and whatnot. I haven't necessarily seen all of them. I remember him going through a hard time, so all of Spider-Man Yeah. Well, you got a point there. Sometimes we're more rough than others. Troy, when it comes to Spider-Man, he has it rough and he never has good. That's not really true, because we just last week talked about him getting married to Mary Jane. Even though there were some struggles and, they didn't get to right away go on their honeymoon and whatnot, that was still pretty spectacular. There are moments in Peter's life when, let's face it, Tiger, he hit the jackpot. Am I right? I'm right. So, and then there's Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man. Okay, that one I don't know. I completely missed that. Did that come out in the 90s? Because I kind of got away from collecting Spider-Man. And we'll talk about why I stopped collecting them later on. Let me try getting through this. Yeah, Blade would take him. Yeah, because honestly, I see Blade being very, very, very Batman-like in his, strategizing and stuff like that, and using his skills to his advantage and so forth. A lich is an evil sorcerer who trapped demonic magic to cheat death. Actually, to be more precise, has trapped his own soul in a device called a phylactery, which basically Voldemort.
Makes
that's
sense.
Basically what a lich is. Yes,
it makes sense.
That's all he was. He just had multiple phylacteries, and he had to destroy them all.
Yeah.
Blade and Spider-Man did fight before, and Blade won. Oh, that is right. I had actually forgotten that. I thank you for reminding me. Yes, it's true.
Interesting.
And I would say the Spider-Man of the comics is more powerful in almost every way than any of the movie versions. We love your show and guests, and it's great to hang out with all of you. You are so encouraging, my friend. You really, really are. And you guys talking between each other. Yeah. Blades. Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill. Yeah, exactly.
He was thinking of Spider-Man when he said that. It wasn't Deacon Frost. At that moment, he was thinking of Spider-Man. That's what he was thinking.
We also talked about DC versus Marvel last week, so
Batman can beat anybody. He'll have something in his utility belt that'll. There's
been a lot of videos that I've seen about this, and a lot of people say that, but they always say, if given enough time to prepare. If he doesn't know who the heck you are and what your power set is and who the hell you are and where you came from and any of that kind of stuff, he might just get trounced.
Did you ever see the fan film that was Blade versus Darth Vader?
Blade versus Darth Vader? No.
That was an interesting one. He was putting up a good fight, Blade. Sorry, not Blade.
You know what was a good one, though?
Batman versus Darth Vader. Batman versus Darth Vader.
Batman versus Darth Vader.
That's what I saw,
good.
Yes.
It's got two endings, one where he wins and one's where
I saw the one where he didn't win, but Vader got messed up regardless.
Yes, he did. Yes. Yeah, it was not an easy fight. Do you know how he wins in the Batman Wins version?
How?
He frees Clark.
Oh, that's funny.
And Clark helps. Yeah, exactly.
I thought they would have used some freezing thing on Vader, like that he got from Mr. Freeze.
It's unfair to do this to a creator who put in as much effort as. Let's face it, he's a filmmaker. The filmmaker who created that series of films. I don't know his name. Maybe if one of the mods wants to look it up and drop it in the chat or something. But because they did a great job, great costumes, great writing. But you look at it and you Monday morning quarterback and you look at it and you go, it would have been great if Bruce had more time. He could have, learned about Vader some more, used, what he knows about him against him, told him, Padme would be so disappointed with you, and then thrown sand in his face or something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Looks like you got some dirt in your eye, he'd say, right?
The only reason, Amanda Nui, I don't consider that to be like cheating or a cop-out or whatever is because the whole overarching story of why Batman and Darth Vader are fighting in the first place is Darth Vader has captured Superman and he's going to rescue Superman. So, that's kind of, part and parcel of it. It's like, in a D&D adventure, you go to fight the big icky bad master vampire and you just don't have the levels to do it, but you find the sun sword that is prophesied to be able to defeat him or whatever, and that's how you're able to win. It's the same kind of thing. When it comes to Blade, I see him as a standalone universe, mainly due to the supernatural vampires, whereas characters like the Punisher and Daredevil never had to run into these monsters. I get you, and this was something I'd argued in the Marvel Universe. People have been talking about integrating the X-Men forever, and I'm like, you know what? I actually kind of like the idea of a Marvel Universe that's just the X-Men and a Marvel Universe that's just all the other superheroes. And then maybe it wouldn't be so bad to have a universe that's Dracula and Blade and, all of the Monsterverse and supernatural stuff that they had in Marvel and so forth.
I'll say this. I would have liked the idea of an X-Men universe with some other Marvel heroes like Spider-Man in there, and maybe not have him in the other, because I think Spider-Man works well with the X-Men, but I'll get into that later.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. And welcome, Jesse Green. I watch some Star Wars things. Star Wars?
I don't know.
She gives him sand. Dude, I'm sorry. I'm trying. Maybe I'm just getting drunk now, but I'm having a hard time with that.
Wait, hold on.
Oh.
I watched some AI Star Wars thing. She gave him.
Oh, AI Star Wars. I get it.
Yeah, AI Star Wars thing she gave him. And
okay. I'll have to look into that, see if I can find it. There you go. But let's go ahead and get on to the topic.
We're gonna bring it in. Add to the stage.
And
Marvel before the MCU. Marvel was around before the MCU, people. So here we go. We're now well into the 90s. Well, not well into the 90s. I guess it's 92. Spider-Man 30th Anniversary Edition comics. Remember these with the holographic covers.
Yeah, so this was something that I had wanted to touch on a little bit when we talked about the marriage of Peter and MJ. Mm-hmm. And I think we did a little bit. It had two different covers, right? There was Spider-Man standing next to MJ in her wedding dress. Very iconic wedding dress, too, that, that flares out at the knees kind of a thing. Really, it's very, shape hugging down to the knees and then it flares straight out. I think they call it like a mermaid dress or something like that. So Spider-Man standing next to her and like the villains and the Avengers and X-Men like fighting behind him, right?
Yes.
And then in the other one, it's Peter and, it's Peter Parker, not Spider-Man, still MJ, same dress. And on the one side, he's got like Harry Osborn and Aunt May and, J. Jonah Jameson and Robbie Robertson, all the supporters and friends and family. And on the other side, as I recall, it was like people like the Kingpin and all the street level type villains, So anyway, I was like, I got to have both of those covers. But when it came to all this other speculative cover bullshit,
what are you talking about?
I said,
guaranteed be worth money in the future. Your retirement's set. You buy one of these.
Guess what?
What?
Guess what?
What?
Not a single one of them has gone up in value.
Even what was it? Stan Lee kind of threw shade at this. This is kind of the speculative market. When people, this is after Batman '89 came out. Everybody, comics honestly, are worth a fortune. Yeah.
the alternate covers of Marvel, I think, hurt Marvel more than the death of Superman hurt Superman. As far as gimmicks go.
So what happened? Did they publish more of these than they should have?
Absolutely,
they were
they
figuring
saturated the market.
They were going to be worth money. Yeah.
And look. the only reason something ever becomes a collector's item, right, is if it's rare. So
That's
if these
Stan
aren't
Lee said,
rare, they're not going to be valuable. First. Second, it's usually not covers that make it valuable. It's what's inside.
Like an introduction of a new character that becomes
like
popular
the
later on.
introduction of Punisher or the introduction of Blade, both of which, by the way, were in Spider-Man comics. I did have the introduction of Punisher, by the way. I did mention last week. I gave that away to a friend's son, and I hope he paid attention to value if he ever got rid of him. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's not usually the cover that makes a difference.
So you're not impressed.
No, not at all. And this whole shtick of so-called holographic covers, I never liked them. It was like, you know what? The artwork is obscured by this kitschy thing. I'd rather just see the artwork that the artist created.
Well, I guess I should have done the Marvel trading cards. Oh well. I didn't pick those, but those were cool.
Well, I mean, go back one. Okay,
I think I had this one. I had one of these.
I can't even tell what that art.
Well, it's a hologram. You can't see it in a photograph. All right,
it's the next one though. Go to the one that's that one.
Looks like he's swinging there, huh? Yeah.
Yes, that one I can see. That's Spider-Man. I don't know for sure who that artist is, but it looks a lot like Todd McFarlane's art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And great. I'd like to just see that picture, unobscured and colored. This is basically black and white because of the shtick of the
hologram. Holograms were big back in the day, kids, especially in the 80s, but even going to the 90s.
But you know what? You kind of got me off on a tangent. What's the whole bag behind the 30th anniversary?
I don't know.
Or was this just it?
That was it. I was saying these are the collectible holographic covers that everybody thought was going to be worth a lot of money. This is what I call a bad Marvel moment. Okay, that's why I put it in here.
I wasn't sure how you were pitching this to me.
No, this was considered a horrible mistake, correct?
Do you know how many they did? How many covers they did?
No, they did 4 in total. I didn't have the other one. That one didn't that one didn't show up as well because that had like a black background. And I figured. Plus, I was only doing 3 each anyway. But I remember at the time I thought this was, oh wow, I bet this is gonna be worth something someday. You're spending your allowance money, and then you realize no, nobody cares. Because they made too many copies, because they basically thought, hey, we can get all these people that now want to get into comic collecting for speculation instead of just liking the art comics, right?
Yeah, and that's a great way to just destroy the whole industry. So this is...
it would be worth money if there were fewer made of the regular covers, right?
Good point. This is the mistake that these companies make. Failing to understand why things are a collector item, why they go up in value. The company does not generally profit from something becoming a collector's item. It's really only the person selling it on the secondary market that's going to make the big bucks, right? You put out the premiere issue with the first appearance of Punisher. Nobody knows if anyone's going to give a flying F who Punisher is and if he's going to ever show up again. And they put it out, for, I don't know, I think at the time it was like 55 cents or whatever it was, 65 cents. That's how much Marvel made off of each issue of that comic. And then after it went out of print and they got, months and years further, and he turned out to be a popular character and people started wanting to collect Punisher issues, and they find out, oh, his first one was in Spider-Man number such and such, whatever, I got to get that. Now the bidding wars start, and people that paid 65 cents for it are now selling it for $3, $10, $100, whatever.
$650,
And I'm sorry, Marvel, you don't make that money. The only thing you can do is put out a reprint, which isn't going to have the value, but it will quench the desire of people to just be completists. Well, it's not going to be a first print that's going to be valuable, but at least I'll have the story and I can have it in my collection and whatever. And that's how you make a few extra bucks, Marvel. That's just how it works. If you try to do kitschy, make it a collector's item type thing, it will backfire every time. You are really gambling with destroying your whole cash cow by doing this. They all do this.
Anyway, though, I think I had one or two of these actually. I might have had because I was trying to actually get into buying Spider-Man comics, but I realized this is just too much work. I got to.
Did you end up buying like two of the same comic with different covers because you thought
no, because these were different. No, these were different. These were different comics. Like these were different lines, right? So
gotcha.
They're going to be a different comic underneath each of these. But I was trying to get into one of them, but I think plus getting out to the comic book store wasn't easy for me either. So I think I just
another problem that a lot of us had with
go ahead.
More Marvel than DC was you would have, especially with someone like, and they did this in DC too. Superman had multiple titles, Batman had multiple titles, and sometimes what they would do is you would get Amazing Comics, Amazing Spider-Man number such and such. You get half the story, and it's left on a cliffhanger, and you got to buy. Yeah. Then Web of Spider-Man.
I hate it when they do that. I hate it.
Well, I didn't mind it because I was getting all of the Spider-Man line already. But when they did it, so you had to get like the next one is in X-Men.
It's getting ridiculous.
Son of a bitch. I'd go and buy that one friggin' X-Men, put it in the sleeve with my Spider-Man, and that was it. That was the only X-Men that I bought. I never started buying a whole line because of it.
There was a big problem with the Dark Knight comics, the Batman comics, because the whole purpose of the Dark Knight comics is that these are self-contained stories that are not necessarily connected to all the, I mean, I'm not going to say they're not connected to the Batman continuity, but you don't have to have the other Batman comics. You could just follow the Dark Knight line and you're good. But then when they did Nightfall, they shoved Nightfall into the Dark Knight, and a lot of they were mad because they're like, I don't need to be looking at this stuff in the mainline Batman comics. It's supposed to be a self-contained comic series that I can read from beginning to end and not have to worry about all the other stuff. They always pull this crap, and it's annoying. Don't get me started on the CW
This is again, we talk about this all the time. These companies need to respect their audience. They need to respect the people that are paying the money, which is why I respect all of you guys. You guys dropping the super chats and the super stickers and the members and stuff. I hope you guys feel the appreciation. I am not like these bastards that take y'all for granted.
Time to move on.
I mean, yeah, if that's all you had to say.
I have nothing left to say on this. I think
I didn't even know. This wasn't even a blip on my radar.
I remembered this, though, and I thought it would be interesting to bring up the whole Marvel speculation. This hurt them financially eventually, didn't it? This was part of their downfall originally?
Yeah.
When they got hit? Yeah. All right. X-Men, the animated series, 1992.
A lot of people recommend this to me. This wasn't much on my radar. I got married that year. I had other focuses and stuff. But
this was a big deal. See, I was in high school when this came out. Yeah. This was a big deal. This came out the same year as Batman, the animated series. Now, this wasn't this was a Saturday morning cartoon. It wasn't like Batman, the animated series, where it was on every day after school. That was the kind of show Batman was an after school show, and there were a lot more episodes of that made. This was done on more of a budget too. They didn't have the budget that Warner Brothers had given Batman the animated series, but this was still the only other real superhero series in town at the time. And it was based on the X-Men comic that was going around the 90s, which was very popular at the time. I remember kids in high school, they were reading X-Men comics. They not so much the DC stuff. They were all into X-Men. There's kind of a little what do
I
you
see
call it?
multiple Jean Greys there.
There's the different Dark Phoenix. The Dark Phoenix is there, which is still better than any on-screen Dark Phoenix they ever did. You got Storm,
He screwed it up twice.
I found this show pretty good though at the time. It did have kind of a, I don't want to say it was a soap opera. It had like a multiple story arcs going on. Like each season was something new that would build up to something big at the end. The first season, it introduces characters like Magneto and things, but it's really about them versus the government and the Sentinels.
Cable
that's
up there at the top. I see Mystique, Center.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of characters. Starts out, we are introduced to the show through Jubilee, who just gets her mutant powers, and she's
Jubilee
with her,
is in the lower left there, right?
Yeah, she's with her foster parents, and the Sentinels are coming after her, and and then the X-Men take her in. You can come to the special school for the gifted, and of course she's the only really school age girl at the school. Everyone else is at least in their 20s at that point on this show.
Well, yeah, it's like they've kind of aged out, and they're becoming mentors to the incoming crowd. And this was, like I said, this was the era. Look at what Jubilee's wearing there. It looks very much like the Tim Drake Robin costume,
kind of.
And a lot of people were very keen on that, and that's where the joke comes from. Where in DC versus Marvel, Tim Drake just falls out of the sky and lands in the dormitory. And I think it was, I don't remember who it was. It was Rogue or somebody's like, "Hey, Jube, did you order a boy?" And she's like, "No, but I love his fashion sense."
I always liked Rogue too. She had like a southern charm to her. She'd always say sugar, she talked to you and stuff. Gambit.
And she had a butt. Her butt.
Did.
If we were talking last week about the DC versus Marvel and who, whatever, on the Marvel side, it's Rogue, and on the DC side, it's Nightwing. That's all there is to it.
I thought you were going to say
because of their
Catwoman,
butts.
but that's okay.
They are the butts of their respective universes.
Look at this though. Beast. This was fascinating. In the pilot, there's an X-Men named Morph that's a part of the group, and he gets killed in the pilot when and Beast gets arrested and thrown in jail, and he has to wait trial. And Beast, of course, isn't, even though he's Beast, he's very educated,
right,
erudite. He's very civilized to go against.
I mean, he was played by Kelsey Grammer in the movie.
That was great casting, actually, when they cast him as the older Beast in the X-Men movies. But and then of course there's all these weird things about future timelines where there was like a war between the mutants and the humans, and nobody won basically, and it's like a post-apocalyptic thing. And of course we find out a mutant. Well, I don't even know if he's really a mutant. His name is Apocalypse. He shows up. Let me see if I can get a picture of him. There's Magneto. There's Apocalypse.
Yep, there he is.
I remember when he was introduced, and one of the guys says, "You're a mutant," and he says, "A mutant? I'm as far above them as they are above you." That's what he said.
Wow.
He's terrifying. Professor X, the wise Professor X, always says, "I've always worried about this, a mutant that was driven mad by his own power."
Yeah.
And apparently he's been
wasn't he like the descendant of one of the X-Men?
No, you're thinking of Cable, I think.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, no, Apocalypse was around. Frankly, I think in ancient Egypt he was around. Is
that what it is? He's like one of those immortal type. He's like Vandal Savage in DC.
Kind of, yeah. And he has his own group. He tries to select mutants to become his 4 horsemen so he can start the apocalypse and build the world anew after he destroys it.
Of course.
And there's Magneto, who we learned, of course, not through this show. They kind of they said he was they alluded to his past, but they didn't go full on that he's actually a Holocaust survivor.
Right.
So he had a great line on the show: "Make peace with the humans. They can't even make peace with each other."
Yeah, that's true.
But great classic cartoon. Holds up. I remember Young Ripper was saying it's legit. That's what he's.
Oh yeah.
About this.
Well, and see, for all the people that want to, push woke agendas and stuff like this, X-Men was your storytelling method for representation of everything. I don't care if you were gay, minority, male,
Right.
female, whatever your thing was that you felt oppressed because of, that's what the mutants represented. You know,
That's right.
It wasn't on
They're
the
outsiders.
nose. Right, exactly.
They're outsiders from society. That's the thing. Oh, Jesse Green says Angel was one of the 4 horsemen. Yes, and when Apocalypse gets told him, he becomes Archangel. And I'm sure all this is from the comics. I should really go back and read a lot of these great X-Men comics from back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But X-Men 92
and
was
nowadays
not,
you can,
I know.
If you're really looking at, getting first editions and collecting and stuff like that, there's omnibuses out there that you can easily get and read in, chronological order and stuff. That makes it a lot easier.
This was the first. Oh,
well, just real quick, just, to Netter.
Yeah.
I'm broken. Can you help, please?
Are you really supposed to have more of that?
I'm fine.
You're saying you're fine. I'm going to watch you slide off your chair into a puddle on the floor.
We'll see, maybe, but it's just up on the bar.
Okay, I'm going to actually. Are you going to have more of this? Do you think? If so, I'm going to put it in the freezer, get it cold, because it tastes much better cold.
Okay.
Not that I'm encouraging you to drink.
Well, we'll see how I feel after I finish that. I'm not drinking it fast, so
Captain America shows up on
I'm
this
disappointing
show.
my audience. I'm not getting drunk.
Did you hear what I said? Captain America shows up on this X-Men cartoon. Because unfortunately,
wasn't he just in the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends last week?
He was. Here's the thing: they were limited. Unfortunately, this was back when the Marvel rights were all over the place, and unfortunately, the creators of this show were very limited in what they could do. But they would drop hints in the show, even if they couldn't outright say it, that there were other Marvel heroes in this universe. Yeah. They would do little things that would, show. And on the Spider-Man animated series that came out a couple years later, they actually had a crossover where the X-Men showed up on Spider-Man, the animated series. And it was this group of X-Men from this cartoon. And there's a funny scene where some scientist is looking at Peter Parker's, Spider-Man's DNA. And he says, oh, your blood, your genes, they're mutating. And then Peter Parker yells, and Spider-Man says, a mutant? I don't want to be a freak. And then Wolverine and the X-Men are standing right behind him. And he says, watch what you say, bub. And it's like...
There was the first time that I made the connection with Spider-Man being a kind of mutation.
Kind of, yeah.
There was a storyline. I don't remember where it came from, but I read it and we had a previous, I don't know if it was Good Old Days or something talking about it. I had gotten, when I was a kid, the Power Records, they were comics with the 45 record in it. You'd read along with it. And I got 2 of them for free from, I think it was Woolworth or something. They had Spider-Man there. Some guy cosplaying as Spider-Man, giving these out and signing them, right? And I got 2 of them because the first one I picked up was The Way It Began. The Fantastic Four. It was the retelling of the origin of the Fantastic Four. That was my introduction to the Fantastic Four. Oh. And I got this, and Spider-Man looks at it and goes, I'm not in that one. You want to pick another one and I'll sign that one? I said, oh, yeah, sure. And I found one that had him on the cover, and he signed it for me.
That's awesome.
I know. And that one was Spider-Man versus Draco the Dragon. It's a one-shot villain. And the backstory you find out later is he was some scientist who I don't remember exactly what caused him to morph into this giant fire-breathing bipedal dragon with wings, but he created a robot army of lizard men like him. So they were all robots except him. And he gets into a fight with Spider-Man. He's trying to take over the world. And Spider-Man's, he's like, you started out as Dr. whomever such and such. And, you change. You're just like me. He goes, no, you are a freak. You are a mutation by accident. I, on the other hand, and he, takes credit for his alteration or whatever. And of course he ends up getting himself killed or whatever, because... Whatever. Anyway, it's not important. That line stood out to me. The whole mutation by accident. You are a freak. And I'm like, Okay, so he may not have been born a mutant, but he became a mutant. So one could argue Spider-Man is a mutant.
Maybe. I did want to make a point too. That reminds me of a line from the season finale of the first season of X-Men when the I guess Sentinel Prime was it, or
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe the head of the Sentinel robots, and there's the U.S. senator saying, "Why are you why are you shooting at humans? You're only supposed to kill the mutants," and the Sentinel turns to him and says, "Mutants are humans," or
Yeah,
like
good
I'm
point.
not seeing a distinction like you. Then he realized, oh, we're in trouble now because
that's
robots
exactly,
are just going to turn on all of us. So
that's the
I like
basic
that. I like the
idea
fact the
behind it,
robot wasn't
right?
what.
The whole idea of an intelligent weapon that you set against somebody and they decide, there's no difference between these people you've sent me against and you. So you're all getting wiped out.
The robot isn't a bigot. That's what I got from that.
Well, that's true. Yeah, an equal an equal opportunity destroyer, right?
Exactly.
No,
but classic series. No, got a follow up on Disney Plus that I haven't.
Do you know I'm a mutant?
You are.
Technically, I am a
right.
mutant. I have a genetic condition called factor V Leiden thrombophilia.
Oh, wow.
It's a mutation, and I'm patient zero in my family. No one else before me, has it or is a carrier. It's just a mutation, and I have it, and it's a condition that causes me to the clotting factor in my blood doesn't like to shut off. So I can very easily get clots. So I have to take blood thinners to manage it. And I'm like, I could have had X-ray vision or, super strength or whatever. I got to be the clot.
Well,
what kind of a superpower is that?
Well, it reminds me on X-Men, the animated series, there were mutants that didn't have powers. Like there was one guy that just looked funny because he was mutant. He says, I don't have any powers. And the people are still attacking him in his apartment. They're like, I'm not a threat to you. I don't have any powers. Leave me alone.
And therein is the problem, right? Because and it goes back to what you're saying about the Sentinels, right? What do you consider to be a mutant? Any genetic anomaly that happens spontaneously is a mutation. Spider-Man getting bit by that spider, it changed his genes, he mutated, right? He wasn't born with it, but he's still a mutant, right? I have this clotting factor issue that nobody else in my family has. It wasn't handed down to me or something. I'm a mutant, right? And this happens naturally all the time. I mean, most of evolution is because of mutation. Some mutations are adaptive and they become dominant because, it helps you to survive. And some are really, really bad and they, end up getting killed out of the, Darwined out of the gene pool. The most interesting, I don't know if you call it experiment, but observation that shows up in all the textbooks is there was this one species of moth that was really, really good at blending in with the bark on trees. Their wings looked just like the bark. It was like a dark, dark brown with the same pattern. And, they'd had it for, who knows, maybe thousands, millions of years. But then something happened in that region where a volcano put out a bunch of ash and turned every single tree like gray with ash. And when the moths would land on the tree, they'd get picked off by birds because now they stand out. But you know which ones didn't? The ones that had a certain mutation that made them look gray.
And they're the ones that survived.
And they thrived. But that's a mutation. That's how mutation works in nature.
Oh, thank you, Geek Flag. The leader of the Sentinels is called Master Mold. I remember now. Okay,
there you go.
It's been a while since I've watched this. I did get them on DVD recently, though. I found them on eBay and stuff, so I may go back and rewatch this whole thing. But yeah, that was X-Men,
Spider-Man, X-Men, Arcade's Revenge, 1992.
This is the title. Spider-Man. It's not Spider-Man and the X-Men in Arcade's Revenge. It's just Spider-Man, X-Men, Arcade's Revenge. Last week, I had told you about the Spider-Man game for the Sega Genesis.
Right. Versus Kingpin or something like that.
Versus the Kingpin. Yeah, that was the one. Yeah, Spider-Man versus the Kingpin. And I had a Super Nintendo, so now I have my own 16-bit console. There you go, Sega fans. But I want a Spider-Man game. And then this game came out for the Super Nintendo. Look at this. Join the Marvel Dream Team.
Definitely Todd McFarlane art.
Yes, because that was the big thing at the time. Yes.
Yeah.
Join the Marvel Dream Team, and there we go. If you can make this big, let me see if I can read any of this. I probably can't read this. Oh, wait, there you go. Swing into action with 3 hot new Spider-Man video games, blah, blah. Team up with the X-Men for a non-stop challenge in Arcade's Revenge for Super NES. There you go. So look at that. And you got all the enemies down there. You got the X-Men over there. I thought this is
let me see. Different. I know my Spider-Man villains. So, of course, we have Mysterio. We have Electro, Doc Ock. We got the Vulture, Hobgoblin, Juggernaut. And then we got some X-Men above them there.
Now, I didn't buy this as soon as it came out because I had other games to get. I remember that Christmas that year I got Roadrunner's Death Valley Rally, which looked better than it played. But the idea behind the game was you played as the Roadrunner and you're trying to outwit, Wile E. Coyote's traps.
Wile E. Coyote.
And it had great looking animation. It looked great. It just didn't control so well. I also got Super Star Wars. I think I've mentioned those games before. The first of the trilogy. I got that. And I got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time. Those are my 3 Christmas games. But in the new year, when I'd saved up allowance money, I picked this one up as well. Now, what do we got here? Troy, I find it weird. Some of the X-Men wanted to have Spider-Man to join.
But he didn't. Deadpool wants to join the X-Men, and they don't want him because he wasn't born with his powers. Yeah, that's a great
what
point.
They tell him. They don't want him to join because he's annoying.
Because he's a psycho. He's nuts. That's why they really don't want him. Spider-Man, they actually see as a kindred spirit.
And he is. And that's what I like about Spider-Man. I often think, I wish they would do this, where they would do like a trilogy of movies, which would just have Spider-Man. Maybe he's down in the dumps. Maybe society's really turned on him. And he kind of helps out the X-Men because they're outcasts like him. He's just an outcast in a different way, because of J. Jonah Jameson and all the propaganda. But the X-Men are outcasts.
They kind of touched on it in the Tobey Maguire era. They sort of, they didn't quite do it, but they sort of nodded to Spider-Man No More. Where
they did, yes.
Out the, and he's got a, and this is every now and again you got to, because and everyone was talking about this too. Peter, just has such a rough life, and every version of it we see, right? He's got all this responsibility, so he misses the date, or he's late to class, or what, he loses a job or whatever, and it's like he really struggles because he's trying so hard to do what's right all the time, always to his own detriment, and eventually he gets fed up and he quits.
Yep.
But he it's just not in him. It's not in him to quit. It's not in him to what. And I'll tell you, this is why I loved again the Sam Raimi trilogy. When he's going through that in the movie, and Aunt May makes it clear to the audience she knows he's Spider-Man. And she gives him the lecture about, indirectly reminding him of what Uncle Ben said about responsibility and how, sometimes you just got to do what is right because people need you to do it,
Well, I remember in Spider-Man 2, he loses his powers for briefly. And what I'm thinking is, it reminds me of in the movie Kiki's Delivery Service, the Studio Ghibli movie, where the witch loses her ability to fly and she just can't. And I think what happened was he had an internal crisis, and I would call this man versus self, in the character.
Right.
Where
it's a psychosomatic.
Why am I doing what I'm doing? What's the point? And I think as a result, his body just shut his powers down. That's what I think.
It's a psychosomatic thing where he represses his powers as a kind of a defense mechanism till he gets over his headspace. And it's a different way of dealing with the hero, right? The hero who is in conflict with himself and has to, retake his own mantle. Superman has had to do this, but it's been more of he loses his powers. But what does Superman do? It's not his powers that make him Superman, right? Mm-hmm. He's a hero because he is a hero, regardless of those powers. So if he loses all of his powers, he'll go and he'll find the technology in the Fortress of Solitude to continue to do good in the world. Yeah. He'll seek out Batman and say, hey, train me in fighting so I can, still, to the best of my ability and, Legion flight ring and whatever I have to do, the supermobile to get around, whatever.
Look at those graphics, huh?
Was this 32-bit?
No, 16-bit. 16-bit
wow.
Super Nintendo. Oh,
that's pretty good. But this wasn't the play. This is
this is just the title screen. When it pops on, you have. I should have written down the gentleman's name. Give me a moment. The music to this game, in my opinion, is some of the best I've heard on the Super Nintendo.
Yes, it has. You shared it with me.
Did you get a chance to listen to it?
And again, I was wondering as I was listening, is this 16
cartridge? It's a cartridge that was on a cartridge. Now, to be fair, the Super Nintendo did have a great sound chip because it was designed by Sony. Just before Sony and Nintendo had their big falling out, and before the PlayStation, but it had great music. And this guy's been mentioned. There's a YouTuber, I forget his name, but he does. He talks about various
Superman box on the freezer there.
Superman box.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as long as we're talking about it, yeah.
This?
Yeah. I mean, as long as I brought it up, let me go full screen on you.
Mm-hmm.
You're covering my Superman doll with a Batman.
I've got my Supermobile. This is the McFarlane one.
Oh my goodness!
I never had one. I never had one for the original. I also got the Wonder Woman. What do they call it? The invisible jet or whatever. Here, can you take this back?
I can.
But
the invisible jet is right behind you, right? That's why I can't see it, because it's invisible.
Yeah, that's right. It's exactly right. So the McFarlane did a terrible misstep with their action figures. They made them oversized. They're like a half-inch taller than all of the Superpower collection. But I don't really see it as a problem if I'm buying the vehicles. Because, for example, the invisible jet,
which has got dust on it.
That's why you can see it, because it's dusty. There we go. I just put in my Superpowers Wonder Woman, and she totally fits. She's actually kind of loose in there. She kind of bucks around. But I was thinking, how cool would it be if I could get an Air Force officer to put in there, like a G.I. Joe,
right?
A blonde Air Force officer. Steve Trevor, yeah, because then you could fit him in right behind her. But it works perfectly. I think it actually fits the old figures better than the new McFarlane figures. I haven't bought a single one of the McFarlane figures because they're not in scale. Those Superpower figures are pretty cool. Right now, Analog Toys is getting ready to do a bunch of Superpowers videos real soon, and Michael from Retro Blasting is going to do one specifically on the Penguin figure from that line.
Oh, okay. I might have had that one.
Something to watch out. I think I had the one from when the movies came out. So
yeah, that's the one I had.
Black.
That's the one.
Yeah. Because I did not get the blue and yellow one from the Superpowers collection, but it was the same mold, and I thought that I like this version better.
I got all.
I had a lot of the Batmans. I had the Superpowers Batman, and then like all of the line from Batman '89, Returns, all the different costumes and stuff. anyway,
Good
that's another video for another time.
Anyway, go ahead and bring my thing back.
Sorry, but you know what? You can do that too. You have the.
I don't know how.
Notes.
There it is. Okay. Anyway, the music was by I think two brothers, Tim and Jeff Fallon. It is an incredible soundtrack. I don't know how they got this. It has like a 70s rock funk sound to it. And it gives the whole game like a Marvel 70s vibe, like the Spider-Man theme. Because you start out playing as Spider-Man, and then as you realize the X-Men are being kidnapped by somebody, you have to go try and stop whoever's trying to kidnap them. But then you get kidnapped, I think, at the end of the game, at the end of the thing too. But it's actually, there's a YouTuber too, Charles Cornell. He does a lot of he does videos on some unsung music, and he did a video on the soundtrack for the Pictionary game for the old Nintendo. It was done by the same team that did the music for Spider-Man X-Men Arcade's Revenge, and it's incredible soundtrack. Graphics aren't too bad. They're not the best, not the worst the Super Nintendo had to offer. It's I'll say this, the first level you have to disarm bombs as Spider-Man in this level, and you can swing around, you can shoot webs. It feels like Spider-Man. It's different, bit of a different feel than that Genesis game I was telling you about last week, but it still feels like you're playing as Spider-Man. You can jump on walls and crawl upside down and things like that. Here's a little bit of the comic intro. True. What's interesting is it shows you a comic, like a full comic panel. It highlights each one as it goes through it, you know? And it's like, oh no, the X-Men are being kidnapped. It gives you little bios.
I understand, Jesse. Troy, have you tried the Spinware toy DC figures? Spinware toys? I don't know that one. And answer to Lester San Jose, this is Spider-Man X-Men
Arcade's Revenge.
Arcade's Revenge.
Arcade is a villain.
Yep.
He's a Marvel villain. Some have argued he's Marvel's equivalent to the Riddler, basically. But superhuman ability. See, it gives you little bios when you select your character after you get through the first level. You can select each character, and it gives you little bios. Real name, Peter Parker. Occupation, freelance photographer. Here's some of the graphics. There's a level with Cyclops. He's fighting a
broke ass part-timer. That's his occupation.
Yeah. Well, speaking of broke ass, the game was broken.
Really?
This is a broken game. It's not so much. If they had just included unlimited continues or a level select, so I after you lose your guys, you're done, because you have to go through each of the different characters' levels before you get to the one final level where you can, I guess, choose who you want. This is the Wolverine level. Great music. This sounds like a Demented Carnival song, and they're clowns and other things laughing at you, which I'm sure Wolverine would hate. There was so much potential here, and I think if it had just had been a tad easier, because it's hard, and if it just, because there are good things in it. Like, for instance, you can retract or put your claws away and just punch if you don't use your claws. If you put your claws away, your character heals steadily, like Wolverine would.
Interesting.
But it's just, it didn't quite come together. I heard the development team was kind of run down by the process of having to make this game in a hurry.
I also feel like, what year was this? Was this 92?
92. 92, I believe. Yes, this is 92.
I feel like this was a transitional time for games when they went from the number of lives to the infinite continues.
Yes,
which
and
is
right
what
now
I think is kind of where we're at now.
It should have at least had a cheat code where you could get unlimited lives, or just a trick where you could continue on the front screen, because I know sometimes they made games hard because they didn't want people beating something in a rental over a weekend and then they wouldn't buy the game. But this was just too hard. Like, there's hard and then there's just hard that's not fun, and that's unfortunately what this was. And it's a pity because there's a lot to love in this game. You're fighting robots versions of all the famous villains, except Carnage shows up in the game, and that might actually just be Carnage showing up for fun. And you fight Carnage on one of the Spider-Man levels. But great soundtrack. I wish someone would do a master,
Jesse, I did not know about these figures, these Spin Master. But I will tell you this. I'm looking at them, and they look like they're all based on the Snyderverse and or New 52.
Yeah.
So, like, I would not be at all interested in the Flash, the Superman, even the Batman from this line. The only figures that are standing out to me at all would be possibly the Captain Marvel, the Joker, Adam, the Jon Stewart figure, maybe. The Dr. Fate actually looks really good. So does Aquaman.
Okay.
Wait a minute. As I'm going through here. Oh, wow. They're going to like Gorilla Grodd and stuff like that. Okay, so they have different versions of these figures. So I eventually do get to a 4-inch version of the Flash that looks like the Superpowers version and Black Adam. That's pretty cool. I'll have to come back to this later. But thanks for bringing that up because I did not know about that. Apologies. Go ahead.
Anyway.
You guys keep wanting to get me off on DC because you guys know I'm a DC guy more than Marvel.
I'm a DC guy too, but you buy the games that are available. There wasn't a Batman game yet on the
Remember, there was a bunch of parodies of the I'm a Mac and I'm a PC.
Yes.
You know, I'm a Marvel and I'm a DC.
Funny. Anyway, though, it's depressing because this game almost did it, but it not quite. Yeah. And it's just it would eventually.
This seems like the one. It does seem like the kind of thing, though, that I see that Lester San Jose is saying he's going to have to dig into that. You get it on an emulator, you could probably hack into it and give yourself infinite lives,
or so even just use save states. Just use save states. You can pick up where you died, and
right.
This is something where I think they could remake it and make it playable, and they could do a better job with it. Keep the soundtrack though. The soundtrack kicked butt. If we both
well. We're trying not to talk so much DC.
Yeah, because this is a Marvel stream.
It's meant to be just a Marvel stream, but you guys keep getting me sidetracked on DC.
We'll do DC another time. Trust me.
We should. We absolutely should. Yeah, absolutely.
But we're here to. I didn't put the parentheses. On the other side. Okay.
Was this mine or yours?
Mine. I don't know. You were napping. I don't know how you did this. I don't know how you didn't pick this. Now I know I just did 92 and this starts in 91, but I wasn't aware of this until like 93 or 94.
And it ran from 91 to 95. Yeah. Yes, I got all of these.
Boy.
These are absolutely not politically correct.
Love
this
it.
This was a takeoff on the
Sports Illustrated.
Sports Illustrated
swimsuit,
which I also got every single issue of up to a certain point.
I'm not going to check out the pick of Ghost Rider. I don't have that in here. They had pictures of the dudes too, but come on.
Yeah, they did do equal time, and they had different artists, so some were a little bit more, shall we say, photorealistic than others.
Take a Wakanda Wild Side. Oh, that's so bad. Instead of a Walk on the Wild Side.
I think that's brilliant.
Because I guess
who is it? It's Storm, right? Because that's what you have been missing from the Black Panther was his relationship with Storm. He got
involved with Storm, didn't he?
Yes, they really have not thought through the integration of this.
They haven't. They should have saved Black Panther and Spider-Man and then X-Men and had that be another MCU.
And they completely effed up that whole Namor thing. Screw that bullshit.
No.
Screw that bullshit.
Look at this, though. Here we go.
These were some beautiful people. And you couldn't help but think that, you know what? During the summer, at a pool party, this is exactly what you would see.
These are physical specimens.
Group of friends getting together, you know?
Yeah. And of course, Psylocke. Psylocke.
Yep. Yeah.
Psylocke again. Psylocke was very popular.
You had a thing for Psylocke, huh? I take it.
Yes. Oh, her origins is weird. I think she's like Japanese on the outside, but she was somebody else at first. I don't know, but nice looking lady. I remember her most of all. That's what I remember from these swimsuit issues. My friends would get them. That is Black Widow.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
There
well,
you go.
I have to tell you something, Darth Plato. I think it was in 2019. They were they weren't going to call it the swimsuit issue, but they were going to try to do a Marvel annual like in this vein. And then mysteriously it got shut down. I think we know why it got shut down. Okay. Because I think they were going to try. And I think it was going to be equal parts men and women. They were going to do equal parts men and women, but it still got shut down.
This is my problem. I think that these wokosos, they're a bunch of land whale weirdos that are just so upset that they don't look like this that they want everyone to be friggin' miserable. That's really what is the problem with these people.
But yeah, I remember these. This is what I remember about comics in the 90s. I mean, I remember even in the regular X-Men comics.
Go back to the group shot.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what's his name? The Russian guy on the left there, right? And Scott on the right and whatnot. I look at that Summers, and I am not pissed off and angry and I don't look like that. I go, maybe I need to get to the gym and maybe eat a lot less carbs. Just saying, that's just me.
Yeah, I know. You look at that. That tends to be the male reaction. It's like, damn, I need to get in shape. That's usually what they say.
Yeah.
But then it's like the opposite. Everyone will get offended. Psylocke was originally Betsy Braddock, and she switched bodies with Quanon, a Japanese assassin from the Hand. Oh, that's the Daredevil group. Well, she wears that body well.
She wears it well. Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
And of course, we'll end with Mary Jane Watson. There you go. Okay.
And look, Mary Jane was a professional model, so I mean, come on,
This is what keeps Spider-Man from either going to the dark side or ending or self-deleting, as it were. He comes home to Mary Jane.
In a way, and let's face it, I totally get Parker's mentality, right? He's like, I am way out of my league. And when you know that you're lucky, you tend to be a good husband. Just saying. Or you're incentivized to be a good husband. Marcuse's influence of communism on U.S. Though has something to do with that. Yeah, that's true. Keats to it. The idea that beauty is a sign of capital. Yeah.
No, beauty just exists. It's not a sign of anything.
It's the idea of, look, do you want everything to be distilled down to the lowest common denominator, or do you want to aspire to be better? Look, I think I just hit on something. Communism, Marxism is completely incompatible with progressivism. Progressivism means looking forward to a better future, improvement. How can we do better, right? Whereas Marxism is all about how can I do less and be lazy and mooch off the rich and, be envious and punish people who are actually
people who grow our food and take their land and then we don't know how to grow the food and stuff like that.
Which is why, Marxist regimes always collapse in starvation and rebellion, and then you end up with capitalist progressivism, and then somebody who it becomes wealthy and doesn't have to work for his money, starts getting all these stupid philosophies again. I had this debate with someone the other day talking about what is it? Critical race theory and transgenderism and veganism. And I'm like, all of these things you're talking about are first world problems. Only in a wealthy society where even the poor are fat, can you have the time to think these stupid thoughts? If you didn't have other people's money and you had to work for yourself, you would not be, I gotta be vegan. You'd eat whatever the fuck you could eat to survive.
Yes.
These canine teeth are here for a reason.
Anyway, Betty Brant, Gwen Stacy, to name a few. Yes, I always was a fan of Betty Brant. Actually, I'll say that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But that was the swimsuit issue. No longer exists. I miss '90s comics because of this.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. I did have those Tomb Raider comics for a bit. She looked nice in those too. But
Michael
we can't
over
have
at Retro Blasting has a whole video about that.
Yeah.
What was it? The time that that Lara Croft was a pin up, and it was a license thing.
I remembered that. Yes. Oh, can I go forward? Let's see.
Which is funny because, you know, with the triangle boobs. I'm kidding.
Oh, funny, man.
Spider-Man 2099.
One of yours.
Yes,
one of yours. Finally.
Is. Now, this is again one of those fuzzy memories, but back in 90, whatever it came out in 93, 94, they started doing this line of speculative futures for all of the superheroes, starting with Spider-Man 2099. And because I was already collecting Spider-Man, I said, you know, let me get the Spider-Man 2099. And honestly, the origin story, the first issue here, is of course the origin story, and it's very it's derivative, but it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek the way they do it. So the original Spider-Man gets his powers because he's bitten by a
radioactive spider visiting a lab on a school trip. Yes,
and it mutates him, right? Well, this I don't even remember what his alter ego was. Is caught up in a teleportation experiment, and he gets combined with the DNA of a spider. And he gains all these spider powers. And they even reference within the span of the comic that it's just like the Fly, you know, the combined by a teleporter sort of thing. And I just thought it was great. But as I recall, he ends up, it's 2099. So Peter isn't around anymore. But in a lot of ways, this is like, you know, and we've been doing this, you know, for the past 2 weeks, you know, DC and Marvel kind of, you know, rhyme, so to speak. Spider-Man 2029 would be kind of like Batman Beyond, right?
Well, maybe it's better. I don't know, because it was first, right? There were a bunch of these. They had Phantom 2040 predates Batman Beyond as well. That was a cartoon series, which I really enjoyed. Is there a cyberpunk aspect to this Spider-Man comic?
Is.
Yeah, I like that idea. I like mixing.
So what they do is
with, like,
they find a way, and it's not like, you know, like an alternate universe or anything. This is supposed to be an alternate future of the actual Marvel universe. So Spider-Man was a superhero in the past, and now this guy just takes on the mantle, doesn't directly recreate his costume. But he's got the same power set, so he's like, just like those Spider-Man stories I hear from the history. So you got the flying cars and all this kind of stuff.
Like Blade Runner, that sort of thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of the Spider-Man rogue gallery kind of come back in, you know, futuristic fashion, you know.
Right. Like Doc Ock.
It does kind of beg the question, kind of like, you know, do supervillains exist just because superheroes exist or whatever? And, you know, so, you know, it's interesting, and it's a very different kind of story. I kind of liked it. Yeah. And I collected it for quite some time.
This is what I'd like to see adapted. I do think this character showed up in those Spider-Verse movies that Sony was doing, the animated ones, but
did they? Good. I'm glad.
Yeah, I think he shows up in them. Yeah, but I'd be curious when just do a standalone series about this. I think it would be interesting. I would check it out, definitely, and maybe the comics are worth reading too. I should look into it.
We're under the impression that Spider-Man 2099 came first. When did Batman Beyond? When was that?
All right. Let me use my time machine brain thing. Batman Beyond.
Your time machine brain called Google?
No, actually, that's a good point. Let me do that.
That would be the way to do it.
I'm like Sylvester Stallone. Wouldn't it be great if there was a device where you could ask it any question and it would give you the answer? And the cabbie's like, "Are you tripping? You talk about the iPhone, right?"
Alexa, when was Batman Beyond released?
Batman Beyond premiered on January 10th, 1999.
Yes.
There you go. So this predates Batman Beyond. There you go.
Batman Beyond, that'll be a topic for another night. I there are things I loved about it and things not so much I liked about it, which I'll get into when we talk about it. I don't like the future being defined. In fact, I appreciate the fact that they say this is a possible future, not necessarily the future. I do give Marvel props for doing that. Like they would do that with X-Men with like the Age of Apocalypse. This is a possible timeline, not the X-Men timeline. This is if something else, like there's a parallel timeline now going on.
Yeah.
Kind of what they did with Dark Shadows, actually. Didn't they have 2 timelines going at one point?
Yes, they
Shadows,
did. That's true.
Yes. But no, I mean this always looked interesting to me, and I don't know why it never got an animated series treatment. It seemed like it was ripe for it.
That would be cool. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll have to give it a look, and yeah.
And again, this is probably one you could get in omnibus.
Omnibus editions, maybe the whole thing. But it looks cool though, and I like that this guy was what was it? He's half Irish, half Mexican, isn't that right?
Is that right? I'd forgotten that, but yeah.
All right, but moving along, provided my thing is working. Oh, we're done. We're done with this one.
We're going to the next one. Yeah.
Yes, and now I will go on to
this
one. Marvel before the MCU. Okay, someone in the chat earlier mentioned Spider-Man and Venom Maximum Carnage. So this is one of my picks. Another video game, but Troy may be able to speak to the comic book it was based on. This is Spider-Man Venom Maximum Carnage. This had been a big comic book story in the comics.
Yes, it was.
And like a year later, they made a video game out of it by the same people, the same company that brought out the Spider-Man X-Men Arcade's Revenge. This one was a bit more successful. Still hard, but they did it as a beat-em-up this time. Look at this. And no one understood why they never tried this before and why they didn't really try it again. You can actually retell comic book panels in a 60-minute video game really well. Like you can have the comic book show up, and then you can have the speech bubbles pop in and out and do things. And you could do that in a video game really well as a way to tell a story. And then you can go into the actual gameplay playing the level. And they did it here.
And that made for great cutscenes, just the comic book panel.
Yeah, and really clever. The music was done by the band. I know it's spelled Green Jelly, but I think it's their name is actually Green Jello, which was kind of like a
originally they originally came out as Green Jello, but
and they had to change it.
Yeah, Jello is a trademark, so they had to change it to Green Jelly.
Didn't they do the Three Little Pigs music video that was clay animated?
Yes.
And Rambo shows up and shoots up the big bad wolf. I remember that. But here we go.
Hey, little pig, open the door. Not by the hair of my chin.
Yeah, they were an interesting band. They did the music for this. 2 of the songs were included on one of their albums. One was called Rock and Roll Pumpkin, and the other was called Carnage Rules. And they actually, if you pre-order this from a certain store, you got a free audio tape of both songs on them. You know the you know what I'm talking about, right? Tapes before, because they wouldn't give you a CD, obviously, probably because that's so much money back then. But you could play as Venom or Spider-Man. But true to the comic book, you can only play as Venom in later levels because they were trying to stay true to the story. Look at that, J. Jonah Jameson. What is he saying? Hi, honey, I'm back. And it's
the story was, and I think most people probably know this by now. So Venom, of course, was the symbiote that Peter picked up on Beyonder's world during the original Secret War.
Yes,
and he didn't know it was and we talked about this last week because we talked about Venom. He didn't know that it was a symbiote. He thought it was some kind of nanotechnology. Then he finds out it's alive and trying to bond with him, and he rejects it. And so it, like a jilted lover, is pissed, and he bonds with Eddie Brock, who also hated Peter because he lost a job because of him. And so they bond and they become Venom, and he's a villain for a while. And then he kind of becomes like an anti-hero. He still hates Spider-Man, but he's not like all evil, but he's incredibly brutal, kind of on the level of like the Punisher. But then another symbiote ends up coming to Earth, this red one that bonds with I forget what the.
I thought he was birthed from the original Venom symbiote and took over this guy in the end.
Yeah, there was
serial killer.
They were related somehow. I don't know if it was offspring or siblings or whatever. But he bonds with a complete psycho serial killer, and Peter and Eddie have to team up because they're like, this guy needs to be stopped. He's bad.
I remember that comic book when he's like, hey, Brock, you're always about saving the innocents. Catch. And he throws a baby at him. And actually, Venom catches the baby and he says, no. This baby's innocent. We were innocent once, too. Of course, he blames Spider-Man for that. But, it's like not being, but he would never hurt a baby. Venom would never hurt a baby. And what I thought's interesting, this was a follow-up story that came out later on when Carnage breaks out, and he breaks out other supervillains. And this becomes a task that is beyond Spider-Man's ability to handle on his own. This game starts out with a comic book panel, and Spider-Man's almost having an existential crisis. He's like, I feel like I'm destined to keep fighting the same villains over and over again. Like nothing's getting solved, nothing's getting fixed. And of course, then this happens. And eventually he has to team up with other superheroes like Cloak and Dagger, Black Cat. He teams up with Venom himself. He has to get Venom involved. Morbius, the living vampire, joins in, and I believe Deathlock. And then even Captain America shows up to help out at the end. And this was a comic book series, right? Where it all happened, and it was
absolutely. It was in the Spider-Man series. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this might have been before the next thing we're talking about. Yeah.
Real quick, I want to say hi to Raquel. Welcome, and of course, Logical Spark. Good to see you, my friends.
But I'm going too far. But great use of comic panels. Beat 'em up gameplay is good enough. A little tough though. You really got to learn how to exploit because you can find extra lives, and you get bonus attacks from the heroes that are helping you out. So if you need help from Cloak and Dagger, you can gather a token and use it at the right opportunity, and then they come in and sweep and kill all the bad guys.
Oh, nice.
I remember though, there's a cutscene where Spider-Man gets thrown off the building, and he says, "Oh no, Carnage and Streak are on a tear. If ambitious punks don't finish me off first." And you see these regular street criminals and one of them says, "You've got to be kidding me!" Like, "Hey, look, Spider-Man's down for the count. We can take him out finally." It's good little video game came in a red cartridge for the Super Nintendo too, and a great
red for Carnage. That makes sense. Yeah.
And they usually were gray cartridges, but this one was red. And great soundtrack by Green Jello and Green Jelly, I should say.
Cool.
But but worth checking out. Also released on the Sega Genesis, and the Genesis port isn't too bad either. I think the Super Nintendo is a little better, though. I think it does the guitar riffs better on Super Nintendo, but both are worth checking out. Here we go.
Saga, yeah.
You're not drunk enough to talk about this, are you?
No. Although I am broken, Netter. Do you think the stuff is cold by now?
Hold on, I'm in the middle of something.
Okay, no worries. The Clone Saga from 94 to 90. Yeah,
Why do you
the fact that it went on for
much?
2 years was bad.
They said it went on too long, and it divided the fan base.
It pissed the fan base off big time. And I don't think there was anybody who actually liked this storyline. So I swear this was Rian Johnson level subverting expectations. Okay. You'd had Mary Jane and Peter married for some years now. They had a good relationship, right? They had their struggles because, you would expect being Spider-Man and whatnot. But then things got real bad, and Peter beats the crap out of Mary Jane.
What?
And it's like, what the hell? They turned Peter Parker into a friggin' wife beater. And
oh no.
And then he takes off and
did he just hit her once, or was it repeated? Did he get
it was repeated, and it was
it was.
Is it cold?
A bit.
Let's try. Yeah, you're right. That is good.
Yeah, it tastes.
Did you try it?
I've had peppermint schnapps cold.
Oh, peppermint schnapps cold, I would imagine, would just clear out your sinuses.
Yeah, when it's cold, it tastes so much better.
Okay.
Warm, it's kind of like you're a wino.
Okay, well, from now on,
you know, it's cheap booze in an alley. This way,
cheap booze but cold.
It's cheap booze cold, but it tastes better.
It does. It is good.
It's kind of fancy.
Good call on that. Yeah, next time I'll remember that. But yeah, so the whole thing was, and a lot of people were pissed. It's like, okay, Peter Parker is not a wife beater, okay?
No.
So the whole, and again, you're right, it took way too long to get the final reveal that there's actually another Spider-Man, and it turns out that the one that beat up Mary Jane was somebody named Ben Reilly. He was a clone of Peter's that was trying to take over his life or whatever.
Where was Peter?
No. He was going by the name Peter, but he wasn't the original Peter. Later on, he ends up taking the name Ben Reilly so that he had his own identity. But it was a poorly thought out story arc. I don't even remember all the fine points of it. It was really stupid.
It's like making Captain America part of Hydra, and then he's a clone at the end, like they did in
this was literally, yeah, exactly. This was literally where I stopped reading Spider-Man comics. This was when I walked away completely. And I've never bought another Marvel comic since then. Seriously. Yeah. They completely lost me as their regular, and I don't think one person buying Spider-Man comics for, 40 years, matters to them, that they even notice it, but I was not the only one.
Now, I remember hearing about what they plan to do later on after this got resolved, that half the Spider-Man comics are going to be about Ben Reilly Spider-Man, and then the other half are going to be about Peter Parker Spider-Man. Did that get dropped?
Which would have been fine if they would have introduced it in a better way. But
maybe
they
put him in a different city, maybe?
Everybody hated Ben Reilly from this point.
Yeah, because he beat up Mary Jane.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yikes. Geek Flag has a comment.
The Clone Saga was the dumbest storyline ever they ever gave Spider-Man. And then they made it worse with Dr. Octopus taking over Peter's body. Stupid. Yeah, I heard about that. Peter and Doc Ock switch bodies. Doc Ock, becomes, in a way, they kind of went back to the whole storyline. And this is all secondhand. I never read these effing comics. I just heard about it secondhand. Apparently, he started getting off on the whole idea of being the hero. So he'd beat the living crap out of the villains, kind of like Venom did. And everyone's like, this is not Spider-Man. And he had to learn to rein himself in. And then he, fell in love with Aunt May. And so that when he went back to being Doc Ock, he, started a romance with her or something. It was just weird-ass stuff.
Why did they do? Because you have a bunch of weirdos.
Because these writers are weirdos.
Yes.
These are weird people. They don't even belong in regular society, let alone writing the comics.
The heroes.
The heroes.
Kids look up to Spider-Man. That this is he's like in fact, I think he's probably the most popular superhero, if we're being honest here.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that was the Clone Saga. So did they have a big duke out at the end, and then we're all friends, and then they must have gotten rid of Ben Reilly at some point, because I've never heard about this guy after.
I don't know if they did.
He'd
or
like
not,
disintegrate or something.
No, what happened is he took on the name Scarlet Spider. That's him on the left. He's got a dark red bodysuit with a blue tattered friggin' t-shirt over it or something. It was just, I'm not willing to give it any grace. It's exactly what Nate said. Stupid.
All right. Well, that's the Clone Saga.
Now here we go back to this was actually something good that they did. So the Ultimates, again, this is kind of like with Spider-Man 2099, where it's a completely different universe. This has
is this
nothing...
where Ultimate Spider-Man came from?
Yes.
Okay.
Ultimate everything comes from this universe.
All right.
So this was, you got to, let's back up. Well, wait a minute. Let me get caught up on the chat. That's why I never got into comics or anything. No idea where to start. It appears they were doing reboots until they were cool. Never bothered reading Spider-Man comic book published after Spider-Man number 4. Yeah, you know what? Smart. The Scarlet Spider isn't wearing a T-shirt. It's wait for it, white. Oh, God.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh at that. That's not funny.
That is good. No. That was actually a very good joke. These so-called comic writers are drug-induced, mentally deficient weirdos. Yes, you're exactly right. And
they're doing something.
Thank you very much, Darth Plato, for the $2 super chat. My suggestion: Marvel Avengers Alliance. I'll have to look into that. Okay, I don't know what that is, but I'll check it out. So the Ultimates. Well, again, I do have to back up a little bit. Remember that Marvel Comics has a history going back to before World War II, just like DC does, right? And DC is a collection of, National Comics and Fawcett Comics, and, a bunch of other comic book lines that came together. And then they'd have to integrate these hero characters that they bought from other comic book lines. Originally, Fawcett Comics had Captain Marvel and the Marvel Family and Dr. Savannah and Black Adam and all those kind of guys in a completely separate universe. Their own, because they were a different company in competition with DC and Marvel, and or what would be DC and Marvel. And DC decided to try and sue them and said, yeah, your Captain Marvel's too much like Superman. We're going to sue you. And the way that worked out in court was like, no, just because he's got a cape and he flies and he's strong, that's not enough to infringe on your trademark. They're not the same. And it got thrown out, but it cost Fawcett Comics a lot of money, and they couldn't publish Captain Marvel during that time, their most popular character. So eventually they ended up selling their properties to DC. So DC takes in, Fawcett Comics, and they just said, okay, so this is Earth S. That's where these characters are. And that's where their multiverse started coming from. They had multiple universes, not just, Earth 2 and Earth 1, where it was the old characters and then the rebooted characters and so forth. But there was also this universe that had these characters we got from this company and these characters we got from this company. Oh, my
goodness.
Well, then, Crisis on Infinite Earths comes along, and they try to weave all these characters together, right? So you have a very mismatched, continuity. Well, in a lot of ways, Marvel was the same way, although it wasn't really necessarily different companies. It was just that you'd have the X-Men being written by these guys, and these guys were writing the Avengers, and these characters were separate. And they'd cross over, but and over years and years, the continuity got, and then you'd add in new characters here and there, and they were like,
they wanted a streamlined version, but also to bring in new people, new readers, right? That was
exactly. So this was kind of a reboot universe. It was also a way to streamline the characters, right? Have them not necessarily being tied to World War II, right? And, or at least all of them. And what I came to realize as I was and it's a little bit grittier. It's a little bit more for
Captain America there.
Yeah, exactly. If I'm not mistaken, that's Bruce Banner that he's kicking in the teeth.
Oh, that's funny.
And the Hulk in the Ultimates, when he hulks out for the first time, he's buck-ass naked. And they were strategic in how they showed it. But
there's Tony Stark.
And he was a cannibal too, by the way.
That's weird.
He would kill people and eat them, and he was a real monster.
He sounds like fun.
Yeah. So I mean, it was the Ultimates literally taking all these characters to the nth degree. Thor,
Spider-Man. Yeah, go ahead. Thor.
Thor was very interesting. His origin, at least in the early comics, I wasn't very. Oh, we'll get to this in a second.
Okay, all right. Go with Thor.
Thor, it wasn't entirely clear. He said that he was, god of thunder from Norse mythology and whatnot, but nobody believed him. They said that he got his power from this hammer that incorporated this alien technology, and he was just a drunken loser.
Really? Because I thought he was a mechanic working in a garage, like in Adventures in Babysitting. They should have done that. That should have been it.
So at least in the beginning, it wasn't clear what his origin was. Yeah, you're just some guy named Donald Blake. You're not a god of thunder, blah, 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 and this and that. They had, of course, Henry Pym and the Ant-Man and the Giant Man. And, of course, there you go, Henry Pym and his, what's her name, Van Dyne and whatnot. Very abusive relationship. Yeah, he's literally spraying her with bug killer. He's very, this was
what a jerk.
Yeah, very dysfunctional relationship. Yeah.
Was he snorting snow on the side too in scenes? And he's like,
I wouldn't be surprised. I don't remember the fine details again. But look, what I'm getting at with this and why this was so good. Do you by any chance have in your pictures here? Do you have one of Nick Fury?
No, I just picked ones from the actual comic that was called The Ultimates.
Okay,
so maybe there was a Nick Fury. Is Nick Fury in there?
So when Nick Fury was introduced in The Ultimates, he was a black guy who was bald and had an eye patch, and he looked just like Samuel L. Jackson.
This was before they did
Yes, it was.
Okay, so this was sort of a pre-planning.
And everybody recognized that it was motherfucking Samuel L. Jackson, right? And the story goes that Sam Jackson is a comic book fan. He read these comics and he saw that. And he got in touch with Marvel Comics and says, that Nick Fury in your comic there looks pretty damn familiar to me. And they're like, don't worry. I ain't gonna sue you or nothing. All I ask is that if you ever turn this into a movie, I get to play Nick Fury. That's the story he tells. Whether or not that's true, I have no idea. But that's the story he tells. And there are a lot of story points that come from this Ultimates storyline that were used in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I believe that this was the prototype for their movie universe. They were planning it out, and this was the prototype.
Okay. Interesting. I do know that they did say they killed characters. I remember the Peter Parker in this universe got killed off to be replaced with Miles Morales, right?
Yes.
And
yes,
that
he
was something that happened here. And
which was, again, this was one of those, this is a completely different universe, right? So they kill off Peter Parker, replace him with Miles Morales. This is the Ultimates universe.
Right.
I look at this as no harm, no foul.
Right, because it's another universe.
For Peter Parker continues unabated in the mainline storyline.
Right.
But they purposely spun it like they were killing off Peter Parker out of Marvel Comics and replacing him with a black kid. They did it intentionally
for clout,
to start a hoopla.
Yeah.
Whereas the people that were actually reading these comics are like, this is not a problem. This is not a... And honestly, the way they wrote the story was a good story. It was a good death. It was a good handoff of the mantle.
All right.
And they did it without having to do... But then they started doing stupid stuff, and they brought Miles Morales into the mainline storyline from this universe. And it makes no sense whatsoever. It's like, you people are just you lost the plot. You guys are idiots.
They always lose the plot. That's the problem, and they've lost the plot in the movies currently right now too. It seems, but
because Nick Fury is one bad mother. Shut your mouth.
Right. That's right.
I'm just talking about Nick Fury.
But this was Ultimates, and I just noticed that this seemed a little edgier than the Marvel Comics.
It was very edgy. It was very effed up. It was very, very effed up.
I imagine Tony Stark wasn't changed though. He's probably just the same Tony Stark in both universes.
Yeah, and they did not shy away from the drunkenness. He was a drunk.
He's getting liquored up while he has the suit on, I'm sure too.
Yep.
Just,
yep.
Okay.
Hulk 2003.
Are we done with the Ultimates?
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
This is the Ang Lee Hulk movie.
Yes, which technically predates the
Incredible Hulk.
The Incredible Hulk. Many people would argue is the first film of the MCU. This predates it.
So why am I picking this as the movie, the non-MCU movie in my badge?
It isn't a non-MCU film, so I mean...
Oddly enough, though, if you watch Incredible Hulk, you could almost see how the Incredible Hulk we got with Ed Norton probably started out its genesis as a sequel to this movie, because it ends with him running around in South America on the run, and then the sequel picks up with him in, what is it? Was he in Brazil? Portugal?
Yes.
Okay, Brazil, yeah.
Or was it Rio? Well, Rio's in Brazil, so yeah.
We have Eric Bana as Dr. Bruce Banner, right?
Bruce Banner, yeah.
Yes. And we have Jennifer Connelly as his love interest. I forget her name, but she was played by Liv Tyler in the Incredible Hulk. But great cast, I thought. Oh no, what's his name? I meant to bring up the cast.
Talbot. General
Thunder Ross. Who's the actor?
Ross,
Hold on.
Sam.
Hulk. No, not Sam Raimi. That's not Sam Raimi. Not even close.
Funny. That would have been.
Oh no, I've seen Sam Raimi show up in movies, and he's not a bad actor. I'm not picking.
No.
But it's Eric Bana. Who the heck? Jennifer Connelly. Sam Elliott. I always forget his name.
Sam Elliott. Thank you.
Sam Elliott. That's a Thunderbolt Ross right there. Come on.
Sam Elliott, who I used to like. Yeah.
But look at him. He looks the part. I mean.
Yeah, he was perfect. He was spot on.
People have hated on this movie, and maybe me not being a hardcore Hulk fan, just as someone who went to the movies and was getting into these. I rather liked it, but I know other people hated it.
I did too, but it did have its problems.
Yeah,
it did have its problems.
McNulty as David Banner, his dad. I liked how it was David Banner on the old Hulk show, so they still use the name David Banner. They just had it be his father.
And this isn't from nowhere. They had done this in the comics too. This whole storyline of his father being abusive and this being why he's got the
anger issues,
multiple personality, anger issues and stuff.
Kind of like Harvey Dent suppressing the bad side of him. Yeah. Except this, it actually manifests as a monster.
But this whole storyline was a little bit more recent in the comics and not really the most popular interpretation of the Hulk. So they were already on kind of shaky ground with the fans in that regard. But at least you can look at it and say, well, they got all the broad points, and yes, they were drawing from the comics, and they were trying to be accurate and stuff. And there was actually a lot of threads left at the end of this movie that never got followed up on, that the fans were like, damn it, we could have had the Master, and we could have had, blah, 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 and this and that, and they blew it.
They always do that. What I found interesting, though, there were some great scenes with him fighting the military in this. Like the whole going up against tanks
and stuff. It was very it to me, and this was one of the things I loved about this film. It took me back to that 1966 cartoon. Every cartoon started out with Doc Bruce Banner, belted by gamma rays, turns into and they're showing him, smashing tanks and, throwing them into soldiers and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, this is the Hulk I know,
This was back, I feel, before Marvel got too big for its britches, where the actors were proud to be part of these, but they were having fun. Like they were interviewing Jennifer
Yeah.
Connelly, and they said,
Yeah.
"Oh, so you're in love with a brilliant scientist with a kind of a dark side in this. Isn't this a beautiful mind all over again?" And she's in the interview and she thinks about it and says, "Oh my, you're correct." It's like I didn't realize I'm
good
playing
point.
the same character in both movies, but yeah, a lot of fun. What I thought was interesting, Ang Lee would do split screens like comic panels in this movie.
Yes, he did. I like that too.
Which was
very
neat.
clever.
A great visual style, which I thought Marvel could have maybe stuck in future movies. It was actually, I thought it was rather brilliantly done in this, and they didn't. But I know this gets picked on, and I'm not saying it's a perfect movie, but for the time it was our Hulk. And I thought Eric Bana was great as Bruce Banner.
Absolutely serviceable.
And if they weren't going to bring Norton back after the Incredible Hulk, why did they go with Ruffalo? They could have gotten Eric Bana back. I don't get it, but I guess they don't like to use the same actor when they're in a new universe because of confusion. I don't know, but
it would have been so easy to assume that, with just a squint and a tilt of your head. This is the other thing that it takes a lot of flack for, is really bad CG. But it was honestly, this was the early days.
Early days of CG, and they were going to go with this, yeah. This came out, a year after Spider-Man? I remember they seen the trailer for this, the teaser for this during the premiere of Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire. So, yeah.
The two Avengers cartoon movies?
Not doing that one tonight. They did do Avengers cartoon movies. In fact, I've come close to trying to explore a lot of these. I did watch the Doctor Strange cartoon movie they did at the time. They weren't quite on the level of the stuff that Warner Brothers are putting out with the DC comics, but they weren't bad.
So I did want to say something about this particular version of the Hulk. This model is actually for people that do 3D animation. You can find versions of this Hulk out there to pull in and turn into movies and stuff. And there's somebody who has done a Hulk versus Superman series of short animations using this model of Hulk and a very good version, 3D model of the Christopher Reeve Superman.
Okay, cool.
Very, very good. And you could so easily turn the Hulk model into Doomsday if you wanted to do Superman versus Doomsday. Just saying.
And you could do an overlay of it, I guess. Yeah, but there was
this had been filmed in San Francisco.
This scene was in San Francisco, yes. So I remember at the time being very excited. Now, to be fair, I did like the Edward Norton movie more when that came out, The Incredible Hulk. But I never thought this was bad. I know. I guess it flopped. I guess it didn't do the box office they wanted to. Yeah. I guess I think the Hulk. I hate to say this. I think he's the hardest sell of a lot of the Marvel characters because he's basically a monster. But,
honestly, I got to be honest though. The follow-up with Norton, they hit the sweet spot with the Hulk.
I liked it. I thought it was very good. Yeah.
Because they walked the line between. They didn't retell his origin story. So if you wanted to
they gave enough at the beginning that you got the idea. Yeah.
Yeah. You could accept that it was, if you saw this movie and you wanted to see it as a sequel, you could.
You have the origin already.
If you wanted to just accept the origin from the old Bill Bixby, they put enough elements in there for you to draw on that, especially since they use the Lonely Man theme,
I think that's actually smart that they did it that way.
Yes,
because it's like,
I agree.
You don't need to see the origin every time.
I said the same thing about Spider-Man too. You'd already had two Spider-Men, right? Basically retelling the origin, and then they give us what's this? Tom Holland.
Yes.
And it's like, you know what? You guys know the origin.
We're not going to do
this is a sequel to the Tobey Maguire, or this is a sequel to the other kid, or whatever. It's basically the same story.
Yeah, just start off with him already doing the stuff. Yeah, that's fine. You don't always have to give an origin.
Real quick, want to say hi to channel member Outlaw Bill. Welcome, my friend. Good to see you. looks like you got gifted a membership to the channel. I think it was last week. I don't remember who
Space
it
Fraggle.
was.
I think it was Space Fraggle. I could be
Space
wrong.
Fraggle, a gift of the membership,
There
Outlaw Bill is one of my members.
Oh, cool.
Yep, you're a member on both of our channels from gifted memberships. You're you're very lucky in the gifted membership lottery.
All right. But
watch for your name in the closing credits.
This was cool. But now moving on.
I did. It wasn't perfect. I actually liked the next one better, but I don't hate on this movie.
No, and those comic panel, that was really neat. And I think it wasn't Josh Lucas in this as kind of a sleazy billionaire type that's trying to get and I liked how he basically gets killed, because I think he tries blowing up Bruce, the Hulk, but he can't destroy him with the bomb, and the bomb reflects back on him and kills him. And you just see it freeze frame as it explodes behind him, and he got blown up and disintegrated. But they don't even have to show it; you just get that impression, and like a comic panel, And I thought that was brilliant. Comic books again. This is right after Civil War too. I almost did Civil War because I know more about that Civil War storyline just from osmosis, from my friends talking about it. I didn't read it myself. I'm like, you're doing one more day. I'm not going to cover Civil War.
But we do need to at least touch on Civil War.
Okay.
And those of you that are fans of the MCU, some of these elements actually do get, and this is one of the biggest problems with the current MCU. Yes, they're drawing on the comics, but they're drawing from the comics, the later comics that everybody hated.
Yes.
That's not a good marketing tactic. So in Civil War, and if you've never read the comics, you can think about the movies, right? There was a superhero-related government mandate that divided the heroes. In the comics, it was not the Sokovia Accords, but it was very, very similar. There was this idea that if you are going to be it was in a lot of ways it was analogous to gun law, right? And gun regulation.
You're going to be a superhero. You got superpowers. You have to register.
If you're going to be a superhero and you got superpowers, you got to register those superpowers. You got to register your identity, and you got to work for the government under the government. What do you call? And
Tony's and the Iron Man and Mr. Fantastic, they're all on board.
They were all like,
Captain
they were the
America
statists.
says no.
Follow the law. But Captain America and a lot of others are like, no, wait a minute. You're going to strip us of our civil rights, our privacy, just because we happen to have abilities, and force us into slavery? No.
I think a lot of the mutants were against this too, right? Or maybe no, they were neutral. I think the X-Men wanted to remain neutral. I think that's
that's what it was. Yeah, exactly.
Because
they were already on the losing end of this up until this point. They're like, screw you guys. This is a humans only problem. You guys deal with it. So, and Peter found himself kind of in between. He was kind of a Captain America stan. But Tony was very much a mentor to him, very much like in the comics and stuff, right?
And persuasive.
And he convinced Peter to reveal his secret identity. And the problem with that is, by going public with his secret identity, it literally, it goes back to the whole reason that secret identities exist, right? Why do these superheroes have secret identities? To protect their families, right? So that their villains don't come after, the ones they love.
From what my friends told me, first J. Jonah Jameson, he grips his arm and says, call the ambulance, because he's having a heart attack, right? After he sees this announcement. And then apparently the Kingpin sees this, and he says, put the hit out now. Right?
Yeah. And what basically ends up happening is he realizes that Aunt May and Mary Jane are now in danger. he's got a hit on him now. He can't just take off his mask and go back to Queens and go up to his bedroom and be safe. He's never going to be safe now.
Nope.
And at the risk of angering the algorithm gods here, that's exactly what the 2A community says. Look, you want me to trust that if I dial 911, the police are going to be here. When seconds counts, the police are minutes to hours away. And I'm not allowed to protect myself and my family? Screw you. I have a Second Amendment right, and I'm going to defend myself.
I also have a crowbar, nice and heavy. I can whack you with that.
And this was basically what Peter was doing. He was giving up figuratively his Second Amendment rights.
Aunt May, I think, bears the brunt.
And Aunt May ends up getting killed in an attempt on Spider-Man's life.
I remember there was a scene where you saw Iron Man and is hanging upside down his armor, and he has a bunch of webbing around him. He went after Iron Man over this. He was furious.
And I don't blame him. Because again, you got to also remember, he's still among the superhero community. He's still a kid.
Yeah.
He's very easily influenced. Real quick, I want to say hi to Zombie Box Reviews. I haven't seen you in a while, my friend. It's so good to see you. I appreciate you being here.
But I know this was carried over several issues, right? This was like this is again where they were doing it over various issues. This is Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
The only mutant to participate in Civil War was Wolverine, and he was only involved in trying to hunt down and kill the villain that started the whole thing. Gotcha.
Yeah.
But
he was trying to get to the bottom of why the disaster happened to begin with. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, tangentially related to this, because we are kind of mentioning Secret War.
Or Secret War, I don't know. Go ahead.
No, Civil War. Secret War was earlier.
Yeah.
Civil War is this. As I recall, Captain America gets assassinated. He gets shot as a part of the Civil War, but that's a whole...
After he got arrested, and after he surrendered. Because he basically has to eventually surrender because he got the Punisher involved, and of course, you get the Punisher involved, he just starts shooting things up. Anyway,
it was a disaster. Honestly, the whole concept behind Civil War was actually a pretty good storyline. But this One More Day thing, Aunt May getting killed. I mean, this for the fans, at least it started out as this is justification for why secret identities exist. This was everything that everybody ever said about secret identities. Now, they touched on this storyline kind of in a very soft way with what was it called? Scarlet Witch and the Multiverse of Madness. Basically they did the whole same thing with Peter Parker wanting
you mean with the No Way Home, Spider-Man No Way Home.
Oh yeah, No Way Home, whatever it was, the multiverse bullshit it all became
that's where it started mess. Really, I think it
was all a big mess. And but yeah, this whole thing where he goes to Doctor Strange and says, can you change everybody's memory to forget that I was Peter Parker and and whatnot. That's One More Day light version of what actually happens, because in the comics it wasn't Doctor Strange that he goes to.
It's Mephisto.
It's basically the friggin' devil.
It's the devil. Is this the same one Ghost Rider made the deal with? Or
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know enough about that character.
Right,
but anyway, this is basically the devil of he makes a deal with the devil. Yeah. Right? And he alters history so that Aunt May doesn't die. But in order to do that, he's got to give up his relationship with Mary Jane. And this was, I don't know who the author was on this, what moron, but it was somebody who just hated the idea of superheroes being married and so wanted to destroy that marriage. That's all this was
What
about.
I found out too, I think that not only was Mary Jane no longer married to Peter Parker when this thing got changed, but her life was a lot better without him, which I thought was kind of pouring salt on the wound, right?
Yeah.
And it's like,
honestly, if I hadn't already left the comics, this would have done it for me. I would have been, no, screw it. But I left over, Peter Parker as a white beater, and then never came back. And when I heard about this, I'm like, I glad I saved my money. F these effers.
Oh, look at this tutorial. It says it wasn't the writer who wanted it. It was the editor who was going through a bad divorce at the time. Keep your personal crap.
So sick of these idiots using the comic books as their personal work out their own bullshit. It's like, you know what? Go see an analyst, right? And leave the writing to people that aren't insane. Jeez, really? Not just that hating marriage, but hating the idea of Peter married to a supermodel because they think he should always be a loser. I'm sick of this. I'm really, really sick of this. It's like, look, it's not enough for us to make sure that you have your representation so you can see yourself in the stories. But if certain people see themselves in the stories, we got to make them feel like horrible people and losers because, it doesn't apply across the board. Because I'm sorry, these so-called woke people are the worst racists. They really are. Racist sexists.
Well, on that happy note, then we get the MCU a year later with Iron Man premiering.
And honestly, the MCU started out great. I'm telling you, they drew from that Ultimates universe, which I loved, right? But they tamped down some of the more egregious stuff. They didn't turn, Henry Pym into a masochistic wife beater and stuff, and the Hulk wasn't a murderer, and all this kind of. It was more than he was a murderer. He in the comics he goes after. What was the girl's name again? Liv Tyler's character.
Hold on, I can find out. Jennifer Connelly is Betty Ross.
Betty Ross, right? Betty, as opposed to Veronica, because of the Veronica.
Funny.
Yeah,
that's where you got that.
No, yeah, that was the name of the project that the Hulk Buster armor was, Veronica.
Oh, that's
is the
funny.
opposite of Betty.
That's
so funny. Betty Ross. Yeah. So in the comics, Bruce gets jealous that Betty's going out with some other guy. He hulks out, and he goes to where she's having dinner with this boyfriend, tries to kill the boyfriend, and it's very clear that he intends to do something that rhymes with the fruit they make wine out of. To Betty.
Yes.
And he probably would have killed her doing it. It was, again, these were very mature storylines. Yeah, that wasn't the case with the MCU, thank goodness.
Yes. Well, who knows? Maybe someday.
But what did they do? They kept the Samuel L. Jackson as Nick
Fury. So that brings us to an end.
I like
now.
That.
We are not saying there weren't other important moments, good and bad, before the MCU. These are just the ones that Troy and I came up with. For instance, I didn't even do any of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, which I thought about, but I said, no, I'm doing Ang Lee Hulk, because nobody ever talks about Ang Lee Hulk, and I already did.
We could have gotten even farther into the into those 70s movies, because we could have talked about the Hulk potential spin-offs with Thor and Daredevil and so forth.
You should do those as Monday night things someday.
I could, maybe.
You could even do the Hulk pilot movie, because that was a movie originally, the original Incredible Hulk pilot.
If I'm going to do that, I'm going to do the the Hulk movie, the pilot.
Yeah.
And then I'll do the marriage of the Incredible Hulk.
There you go. Who do you marry?
Marriott Hartley.
Oh, okay.
So, just like Eric, like Ed Norton's, Banner, who's trying to practice meditation and everything, trying to
Yes,
find his Zen, not to.
Which is smart, actually.
Yeah. Bill Bixby goes and he finds somebody who's a psychiatrist who does like hypnosis and stuff like that, to ask her to help him with, treat it like a psychological problem. And at first she doesn't want to help him. She says she's retired. She's not interested. And she doesn't even believe him, about, him being the Hulk, until she actually sees it. She sees him turn and become the Hulk. And she's like, okay, I'll try to help you. But we have to, she's earnest, like it needs to be done fast. The reason it needs to be done fast is because she's dying of cancer. And and of course they fall in love and they end up getting married, and he thinks that he might be able to help her, like with the mutagenic properties of his own blood and stuff like that. And when it looks like, well, I'm not going to ruin the ending because I may end up doing this as a Monday night thing, but it was another 2-parter, like feature length type.
That might be something for Valentine's Day, maybe.
It's tragic though. It's
no, you don't. Okay, you don't want that for Valentine's Day. Okay.
No. It's rough, and well, let's face it. How they have to end it with dun 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 and him hitchhiking away, right? So
of course.
So that she doesn't. I mean, it's not a big spoiler, right? But Samuel Proctor, I'm sorry I didn't say hi to you sooner. Yes, Abomination.
He was in the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, and then they brought him into She-Hulk, kind of, sort of, from what I hear. They destroyed everything they did that was good in the early MCU. They completely undid.
There was so much promise. Remember I saw the original Hulk trailer, and I remember Thunderbolt Ross. He goes up to Blonsky and he says, I think it's time to even the playing field. And I'm like, this is a horrible idea. You're going to try to create another Hulk to go after this Hulk. And of course, he goes nuts, and he's even worse than the Hulk that got made to begin with. And it's
exactly right.
I love the Incredible Hulk. We'll have to do a maybe we'll do early days of the MCU someday on a stream.
The thing that I liked about what the MCU was doing in their tying together of this stuff, which was very much in the spirit of that Ultimates, universe, was that they tied all the stories together, right? So this whole idea of Bruce Banner working on trying to reproduce the super serum of Captain America, that idea comes from the Ultimates, and by extension, the Abomination, and so on and so forth. All of these things being an outgrowth of trying to reproduce the super soldier serum. In fact, here's something interesting. In the Ultimates universe, it's not just Captain America. Many of the countries around the world had their own versions of, Captain whatever. So there was a Captain Italy.
Huh.
Yeah. And he had like augmented strength, and he had like this, I picture, if you've ever seen the Metatron, he's got the long black hair, looked like that, but like super buff, and
he ate fine food.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, no, he cooked. He actually could cook too, right? He made his al dente.
But yeah, and he didn't have a lot of story either. There was just like this one capture, the one panel in a page that showed like a bunch of these characters coming together: Captain Italy, Captain Spain, Captain Britain, Captain, whatever. and Captain America, you know, and they weren't all because of a super soldier serum. They all had different abilities.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah.
But they were, you know, and sometimes they were less superheroes than they were, you know, mascots of the country or whatever. But, you know, in fact, my understanding of the Marvel Universe kind of did the same thing with Captain Russia or something like that. You know.
Well, here's what I will say. I had issues with that Black Widow movie, but I did think it was interesting that the Soviet Union had their own version of a Captain America. That actually makes sense.
Yes,
they probably would have tried to make, and he did have some super strength. I don't think.
I bet he comes from the comics too. I don't know.
It was interesting that they had their own version of a Captain.
There was a Captain Israel. I don't know too much about.
Right.
And unless they get their own titles, they were just a mention in a page. Yes, the Red Guardian. That's what it was. Thank you.
Yeah, and that, you know. In fact, he was the best part of that movie. I did think he was interesting because he had seen better days, but I think he still, you know, he still had his strength because he was still super, you know.
That's actually not a bad idea, Darth Plato. I don't remember them going that far with it, but yes, if there was a Captain Wakanda, it was probably Black Panther. And I could see them referring to him as Captain Wakanda and him saying, I'm not doing your captain, you know, thing.
It might make sense for somebody else Wakanda to be Captain Wakanda, just so they could have, because he's the king. He can't always be going off doing.
Hey, there would be your woke checkbox, right? Put the female captain of the guard, you know, as the Captain Wakanda character, right?
There you go.
I'd be fine with that. That would be good stuff.
Anyway.
No, wait a minute. I'm an evil misandrist or misogynist. I would hate that. I'm totally against a strong woman.
Captain Latveria.
Does that make you blue tweeters feel better? You know, if I play the part you want me to play.
Gambit was pretty cool. Oh yeah, you could play as a big Gambit in that Spider-Man X-Men Arcade's Revenge. I didn't even mention the Sega Genesis X-Men games that were very popular, but oh well.
Yeah.
All right, but yeah, it's a lot to talk about. But I think we're done.
Yeah, well, I guess I am a colonist, right? But we earned our independence twice.
Well, we revolted against the colonists, if you think about it. I mean, if we're being honest.
We told that British king where he could go. You know.
Yes. All right.
But anyway, so tomorrow night, I hope you tune into Netters Network. What are we watching on your channel tomorrow night at Netter of Netters Network?
E.T. Phone Home.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, one of my favorite lines from that movie is, "Hey, is he from Uranus? You get it? Uranus." He doesn't get it, you know, like, and it just reminds me how teens in the 80s were brutal. They were just mean. They were just, I mean, it's just,
exactly.
I
haven't seen E.T. in a lot of years. I'm looking forward to
There's
that.
a D&D game in E.T. at the beginning. They're playing
That's
D&D.
right.
That's right.
That's right. Well, that's also why there's a lot of references to E.T. in Stranger Things.
Yes.
Yeah. So tomorrow night, Netters Network, 9 Central, 10 Eastern for E.T. Of course, the link to the movie will be the live stream of the movie will be in the chat, so you can watch along with us if you don't have your own copy of E.T. And we will be watching the original version where the police are allowed to carry guns. Just saying.
You know, I will give Steven Spielberg credit. He did later on say that special edition was a mistake. He did say that.
And he made both versions available.
He always did. He always said when it came out in the home video, he said the DVD, no, I don't care what version they're buying, they get the original and the special edition.
Yep.
I wish other creators would think to do that, but let's not even go there.
I have a theory about George Lucas. I think he's like a little autistic, and he doesn't, you know.
I also, I'll be blunt, I have another theory, and maybe I'm completely off base with this, but it wasn't the original edit done by Marsha Lucas, and now he
yes, and he doesn't have
edits.
the capability
Yep.
of being dialed in like she
Maybe.
did. Yeah, good point.
Maybe.
Good point.
I don't know.
So Sunday, of course, is check out Deleted Seeds channel for all the things he's got going on, and don't know if you guys got the Western Cinema going with Outlaw Bill, but check out their channels, see what they've got coming up for Sunday, because there's a lot there. But then at 8 Central, 9 Eastern, what are we doing, Age of Boomer?
We're doing Geeky Geezers. We have quite a few stories to talk about. A certain launch of the Microsoft Flight Simulator that didn't launch. Oh, that's funny because of airplanes, jets didn't launch.
I get it. I get it. I see what you did.
Bad launch. That's funny. Other things going on this week. I'm sure. I think we're going to mention something about Rachel Ziegler. I think because you had an article about that. I don't know. I always go blank on this. We actually have some interesting stuff lined up. Oh, and the Star Trek fan film that's been getting a lot of
yeah.
We talk about that.
Something I want to talk about in relationship to that, something that I don't see any other channels talking about, is in terms of storytelling, it's very interesting. They're doing something that that I don't see anyone else doing. I haven't seen anyone else do. And I think it's very fan and audience friendly. We'll talk about that on Sunday.
Okay, sounds great.
So that's Sunday. Monday, I haven't decided 100% what movies we'll be watching on Monday, but you know what I think it might be? I had originally been planning to do, back before the first half or the first part of Cobra Kai dropped this season, I was going to do Karate Kid 3 and 4. And I was unable to for technical reasons.
Okay.
Maybe I will do those on Monday.
I can't go beyond with you this Monday, though.
Oh, okay.
Can you put it off a week and the Cobra Kai discussion a week? I know you want to talk about it, but
if I do that,
and then my finals, is that messes you up?
I don't know. Let me see. So
talk about it off stream.
That would be actually, yeah, I don't see why not, because I could do whatever I want for Thanksgiving week. There's nothing that says I have to do it then. So yeah, I could put it off to December 2nd.
That'd be better because I'll be done with my big project at that point. And
so I don't know what it'll be this Monday, but it'll be something. We'll watch a movie on Monday for Monday Night at the Movies, 8 Central, 9 Eastern. Mm-hmm. Tune in, and as you know, we'll have the Cosme link up so you can watch whatever the movie is along with us.
Could do a Kung Fu movie.
I would want you there for that one too.
I know you're right. You're right. No, but I will join you for Cobra Kai a week. I'm sorry for that. And maybe by the time that week, I might have enough time to catch up on Cobra Kai the series for a Friday stream.
Good point. Good point. So that's yeah, and then Monday, Tuesday, of course, at 7:30 Central, 9. My math. 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern on Deleted Scenes channel. Part 2 of Twin Peaks: The Final Dossier. Gonna have to really work fast in order to get that video done for you, but I will have it done for you for Tuesday. Gonna find out what happened to Wyndham Earl and a number of other characters. So that's Tuesday.
I thought we already knew what happened to Wyndham Earl. I guess we'll go into detail.
But what happened to him within the span of from the point of view of the people in Twin Peaks.
Okay.
And keep in mind too that Tammy is going back and talking about the history too. So what happened before the series too. So and then that'll be followed immediately after by Blake 7 at 9:30 Central, 10 Eastern on my channel. I want to say this episode is called Bounty. Not 100% certain. I don't remember. But yeah. If you join us for Twin Peaks, you'll be auto-dramatically forwarded to the Blake 7 stream. That's on Tuesday. Wednesday, there's usually nothing going on. I try to have a D&D game on that day. That brings us to Thursday. Netter, what's going... Oh, I know what's going on next Thursday.
Turkey Day!
Thursday is Turkey Day. Thanksgiving. So Netter and I will, of course, be celebrating Thanksgiving. And the way we'll be celebrating Thanksgiving...
We will be hosting movies literally all day.
All day.
From about 9 a.m. Central Time on till maybe about 11:30-ish midnight that night.
Yep. So I'll have to get those movies together and get them up. And this is going to be a really, really busy week for me. So yay. But there we go. So Thursday.
Wednesday. I forgot to say I will be on Soundtracks with Birdman's channel too. I forgot to mention that.
There you go. Soundtracks with Birdman. What you guys going to be doing?
We're just going to be doing the annual Thanksgiving Eve stream that we usually do each year, where I talk about the Black Friday deals. So it might be going off.
Okay, gotcha.
Probably 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Yeah. Okay.
So keep an eye out for that on Soundtracks with Birdman.
I'll make a community announcement on my channel too. I'll do that. Yeah.
And then Thursday, my channel and Netter's channel, just drop in if you have any time over the holiday. If you're not doing anything else, if you don't, or even, if you're with family and you just want to put on a movie, I will be, putting up Thanksgiving related films all day on Cosme. Just drop in, get that Cosme link, pull up the movie. That's how we do it. So that's Thursday. And then it'll bring us around to next Friday, when I don't know what we'll be talking about next Friday, but I'll be drinking, and you guys will be here with me, and we'll have fun one way or the other.
I have an idea. Okay.
I'll
mention it to you after the stream.
Okay. That's good. Was there anything else you wanted to mention before we end, or?
No, just Marvel was a lot of fun back in the day, and I hope it can be fun in the future. Maybe if we just need. Well, you know what? Let's remember the good old days. That's what I always say on
There
Sunday.
You go.
So,
there you go. Exactly right. And Netter, last words and take us out.
Last words. I love you, honey.
I love you too, sweetie.
Of course, we can talk amongst ourselves, and that's all well good and fun. But it's so much more fun when you guys are joining us in the chat, and you're dropping your comments, questions, trivia, being goofy, whatever it may be. And it doesn't feel like we're separated by miles or continents in some cases. It feels like we're all hanging out in the same room, enjoying each other's company, having a great time. And you guys, you're not just our friends. You are our family. We love you guys, and we appreciate you so very much. You can choose to be anywhere, or make sense of that sentence. But you're here. And that's so encouraging. And not just for us on the panel, but for those of you in the chat as well. You encourage us in so many different ways. You support our channels. And I have to admit that every time I see you guys in the chat, it makes me smile. Because there's my family,
Yeah.
So thank you for being here. Thank you for the many, many ways that you support us and support our channels. And until next time, good night and God bless.
Absolutely. Speaking of supporting the channel, thank you so much, Space Fraggle, for the $5 super chat. Thank you, Darth Plato, for the $2 super chat. And thank you, Darth Plato, for the other $2 super chat. Thank you so much, guys. And, of course, to all the channel members who contribute on a monthly basis. You guys are wonderful. You'll be seeing your names coming up as producers in the closing credits. And thank you to every single one of you that came and hung out and, helped the algorithm by hitting that like button, sharing out the stream, contributing to the chat. You guys really are the lifeblood of this thing. You guys say a lot of nice things about me and my show, but really it's you guys that really make it happen. So thank you so much, everyone. Take care, and see you on the next one.
Good night, ladies.
Good night, sir.
Hit it, sweetheart.